vernichten wird. Es wird einzelne Bereiche geben, wo menschliche Arbeit durch technischen Fortschritt und Produktivitätsfortschritte ersetzt wird. Gerade im Bereich KI, bei Handel, Banken und Versicherungen. Aber wir haben aktuelle Studien, zum Beispiel gestern des Berichts des Rats der Arbeitswelt und auch andere Studien, aus denen wir klar erkennen können, dass Digitalisierung und KI uns eher helfen wird, nicht nur in einigen Bereichen Fachkräftesicherung betreiben zu können. In der Summe wird es mehr Arbeit sein. Sehen Sie mal die sozialen Dienstleistungsberufe, Gesundheit, Bildung, Pflege. Da wird die Nachfrage nach menschlicher Arbeit steigen. Und da wird Digitalisierung assistieren, aber nicht menschliche Arbeit ersetzen. Das will ich an dieser Stelle als erstes sagen. Das Zweite, meine Zeit ist jetzt
muss
hier,
kurz dann sein jetzt.
Das Zweite ist, nein, wir werden angesichts der Demografie dieses Landes zusätzlich zu allen inländischen Potenzialen, die wir heben müssen, zusätzlich qualifizierte Zuwanderung nach Deutschland brauchen. Und es ist höchste Zeit, dass dieses Land dafür auch endlich ein modernes Einwanderungsgesetz bekommt.
Dankeschön. So, das Märchen, dass Einwanderung den Fachkräftemangel löst, hören wir jetzt seit mehreren Jahren. Seit 2015 sind unsere Grenzen sperrangelweit offen. Wir haben millionenfache Einwanderung nach Deutschland und der Fachkräftemangel wird immer größer. Und die Sozialkassen werden immer leerer. Also dieses Konzept ist völlig schief gegangen. Das wollte ich noch mal kurz einleitend erwähnen. Meine Frage geht aber in eine andere Richtung. Wir werben ja aktiv Fachkräfte ab. Ärzte, Ingenieure, Architekten, Pflegekräfte, Handwerker aus Ländern, die ja im Zweifel diese Fachkräfte wesentlich nötiger haben als wir selber. Also wie stellen Sie sicher, dass durch diese Abwerbung von Fachkräften aus dem Ausland nicht Fluchtursachen von morgen geschaffen werden?
Ganz herzlichen Dank für Ihre Frage. Ich habe Ihrer Kollegin Hui schon versucht, ein bisschen sortierend zu antworten, dass Sie nicht alles in einen Topf werfen. Das will ich an dieser Stelle sagen. Es gibt einen Unterschied zwischen Fachkräfteeinwanderung und humanitären Verpflichtungen. Und wir werden irreguläre Migration reduzieren in diesem Land. Aber ich bitte Sie, wenn Sie mir nicht glauben und alles für Märchen erklären, was wir hier erzählen, vielleicht, wenn Ihre Zeit es sich erlaubt, Herr Brandner, mit wissenschaftlicher Expertise auszustatten. Und alle Ökonomen, mit denen wir sprechen an dieser Stelle, weisen darauf hin, dass wir qualifizierte Kräfte, kluge Köpfe und helfende Hände in diesem Land brauchen. Und wer gerade versucht, einen Handwerker zu bekommen, der sagt Ihnen das auch aus dem Alltag. Zu Ihrer Frage des sogenannten Brain Drains. Darauf muss man genau gucken. Deshalb, es gibt eine WTO-Vereinbarung, dass wir zum Beispiel Ländern, die selbst ein Pflegeproblem haben, nicht die Pflegekräfte abwerben dürfen. Aber es gibt auch Länder mit einem ziemlichen Geburtenüberschuss Jüngerer, mit einem Altersschnitt von 18, 19. In Deutschland ist er bei 49. Die junge Menschen haben, die zum Teil gut ausgebildet sind, die aber in ihrem Land keine Perspektive haben. Und da gilt es, dafür zu sorgen, dass durch faire Migration das Ganze auch zu einer Win-Win-Situation betrifft. Ja, fahren Sie bestimmt mal nach Mexiko. Ich weiß nicht, ob Sie schon mal da waren. Aber wer die Welt, da kann ich Ihnen nur sagen, die schlimmste Weltanschauung ist die derjenigen, die die Welt nicht anschauen, Herr Brandner. Das ist von Humboldt.
Ja, vielen Dank. Frau Ministerin, zum Thema Mexiko, die Parlamentariergruppe konnte
also ist jetzt das zweite Mal, dass ich Ministerin genannt werde, aber
Frau Präsidentin, Verzeihung.
Stimmt nicht ganz, deshalb wollte ich es einmal jetzt korrigieren.
Danke, Frau Präsidentin.
Das ist protokollarisch mehr, Herr Kollege, als Minister.
Alles klar. Zeit ist kurz. In Mexiko man konnte sehen, dass die nach Deutschland emigrierenden Pflegekräfte definitiv nicht nur in Deutschland und Pflege ausgebildet worden sind. Man nimmt dem Arbeitsmarkt dort definitiv nichts weg. Aber die Frage ist eigentlich, da Sie ja dargelegt haben auf die Frage der Kollegin Hui, dass wir Bedarf an Fachkräften haben. Ich stimme auch nicht überein, dass man das alles in einen Topf werfen kann. Aber wie stehen Sie dann zu Äußerungen von Parlamentariern hier, die sagen, dass wir eigentlich zu viel Arbeit haben, dass wir eigentlich weniger arbeiten sollen, zum Beispiel von der Kollegin Esken, die eine 4-Tage-Woche ins Spiel gebracht hat, so als ob hier einfach gar keine Arbeit wäre, für die man Fachkräfte brauche. Wie stehen Sie zu solchen Gedanken?
Ja, ganz herzlichen Dank für die Gelegenheit. Die Wahrheit ist, es gibt in vielen Bereichen schon heute Angebote von 4-Tage-Wochen, die Sinn machen. Das ist eingesetzt worden vor vielen Jahren in einem großen Konzern meiner niedersächsischen Heimat, um Arbeitsplätze zu sichern. Ich bin nächste Woche in Schleswig-Holstein in einem Malerbetrieb, die das anbieten und damit übrigens mehr junge Leute gewinnen. Aber für mich ist es nicht eine Lösung für alles. Weil wir können das nicht für alle Berufe und Branchen machen. Es ist übrigens Aufgabe der Sozialpartner, solche Dinge zu gestalten, nicht des Staates. Meine persönliche Auffassung ist, und meine fachliche auch, über Flexibilität im Arbeitsleben müssen wir im Erwerbsverlauf reden. Und das ist die eigentliche Aufgabe. Es gibt viele junge Menschen, die nach einer Ausbildung erstmal Vollzeit arbeiten wollen. Dann kommen Kinder. Dann will man vielleicht partnerschaftlich reduzieren. Deshalb gibt es die Elternzeit. Es muss Zeiten der Weiterbildung ermöglicht geben. Also es ist kein starres System, was wir auf alles pressen können. Aber da, wo das sinnvoll ist, im Strukturwandel von Unternehmen oder da, wo Arbeitgeber sich entscheiden, das zu machen, um ihre Attraktivität zu erhöhen, finde ich das in Ordnung und ist Gegenstand von tarifvertraglichen Gesprächen. Das ist die Haltung, die ich habe. Und ich sehe das eigentlich auch als Haltung der Bundesregierung. Da gibt es keinen Dissens. Das ist übrigens interessanterweise auch die Haltung der Vorsitzenden des Deutschen Gewerkschaftsbundes, wie ich lesen konnte.
Ja, vielen Dank, Frau Präsidentin. Herr Minister Wissing, meine Frage zieht in die ähnliche Richtung. Die Polizei hat auf deutschen Straßen genug zu tun mit der Alkoholproblematik. Sie haben es gerade selber gesagt, die Grenzwerte liegen nicht fest. Man tappt also wirklich im Dunkeln, was die Problematik mit THC angeht. Halten Sie es für verantwortlich, wenn Sie, um den Koalitionsfrieden zu wahren, sich überhaupt mit Cannabis zukünftig auf den Straßen bewegen wollen? Also nicht Sie persönlich, sondern die Deutschen. Vielen Dank.
Herr Kollege, ich glaube, es ist deutlich geworden, dass ich es nicht für verantwortlich halte, einen zu hohen Grenzwert festzusetzen. Ich sehe aber auch, dass in der jetzigen rechtlichen Situation nach einer Legalisierung von Cannabis all diejenigen, die einen Führerschein haben, vor die Frage gestellt sind, was soll ich mit der Legalisierung anfangen, wenn ich mich damit in das Risiko begebe, grundlos meinen Führerschein zu verlieren. Und dafür brauchen wir eine Lösung, weil ich auch nicht der Meinung bin, dass die Rechtsproblematik, die Komplexität der Rechtsordnung ein Hindernis für die Bürgerinnen und Bürger sein soll, etwas zu konsumieren, was sie legal konsumieren dürfen in Zukunft. Und es ist dann eine Frage der persönlichen und individuellen Entscheidung, ob man sich für den Konsum entscheidet oder gegen den Konsum entscheidet. Unsere Aufgabe ist es nicht, den Menschen hier Vorschriften zu machen, sondern unsere Aufgabe ist es, dafür zu sorgen, dass der legale Konsum dann nicht auf Umwegen durch das Verkehrsrecht quasi konterkariert wird. Und dafür brauchen wir jetzt einen Grenzwert, der die Verkehrssicherheit zum einen und die Freiheit des Konsums nach der Legalisierung zum anderen gleichermaßen und angemessen berücksichtigt. Und weil mir bisher keine Kommission hier einen Grenzwert nennen konnte und alle sich in diesem Begriff des Angemessenen verlieren, brauchen wir jetzt eine Konkretisierung dessen, was angemessen ist. Und das übersteigt die verkehrsrechtlichen Kompetenzen, weil man dafür medizinische und wissenschaftliche Erkenntnisse hinzuziehen muss. Und daran arbeiten wir.
Ja, vielen Dank, Frau Vorsitzende. Herr Dr. Wissing, eine Frage noch zu dem Thema Verkehrsprognose. Sie haben ja in der Verkehrsprognose ausgewiesen, dass die Schiene trotz aller Ausbaumaßnahmen, die beschlossen sind, die Sie anstreben umzusetzen, den angestrebten Wechsel von Gütern auf die Schiene, also die Verlagerung von Gütern auf die Schiene, eben nur unzureichend durchgeführt werden kann. Ganz im Gegenteil, der Modal Split, also die Verteilung von Gütern Schiene zu Straße, wird sich zu Ungunsten der Schiene noch verschieben. Haben Sie daraus schließend weitere Maßnahmen vorgesehen, um Schienenprojekte in unserem Land voranzutreiben? Oder ist das eine Tatsache, die Sie jetzt so hinnehmen?
Die Situation ist etwas komplexer. Wir wissen aufgrund dieser gleitenden Langfristprognose viel mehr als bisher über das, was in den nächsten Jahrzehnten passieren wird. Zum einen stehen wir vor einem enormen Güterstrukturwandel. Das heißt, die Art der Güter wird sich verändern. Und wir werden aber ein Wachstum des Güterverkehrs auf der Schiene um 33% haben. Das ist eine Herkulesaufgabe. Und um das möglich zu machen, bringen wir all die Dinge voran, über die ich heute hier schon im Rahmen meiner Antworten gesprochen habe. Und gleichzeitig erleben wir aber auch eine Zunahme des Güterverkehrs auf der Straße. Und deswegen brauchen wir eben beides, kräftige Investitionen in die Schiene und in die Straße. Und die Verlagerung auf die Schiene erleichtern wir auch dadurch, dass wir beispielsweise KV-Terminals fördern. Denn die Infrastruktur, um multimodal oder unterwegs zu sein oder multimodal zu befördern, muss dringend ausgebaut werden.
Conservative news. Verdict reached in civil trial accusing Trump of rape to be announced shortly. Real quick, let me contextualize this for you before everybody runs around saying crazy shit about this. Trump won? Question mark? I don't know why you're saying Trump won. It sounds like Trump lost. Trump more likely than not sexually abused E. Jean Carroll, a federal civil jury unanimously defines. Real quick, okay. really quick, okay, before we go crazy with this. Wait, fuck, where is Pisco at? Where are my lawyers at? Before I say some retarded shit. Okay, I'm gonna keep speaking and a lawyer can stop me if I fuck something up, okay? This rape case was a woman against Donald Trump. It was a civil matter, okay? For a civil matter, that means that I'm guessing she's probably suing him for some dollar amount due to some damages, okay? He's not, I don't believe in a civil court you can ever go to jail, or you're going to prison or whatever like that, right? Also, keep in mind that for a civil suit, all right, for a civil suit, all you need, oh, okay, it was for defamation for him denying it. Okay, gotcha. For a civil suit, what you need is a preponderance of evidence, meaning it was more likely than not the thing happened, which is defined as over 50%. For a criminal conviction, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, which is like 95, 96, 99%. Okay, so keep that in mind too, right? So there are times where somebody could, this happened with Rittenhouse, I think, where he was being sued in civil court, where you can lose a conviction in criminal court, but win in civil court, because in civil court, the standard of evidence you need is much lower. So just as a heads up on that, okay? So essentially, he's just going to pay her and settle. Well, if she's suing for defamation relating to him denying the rape, then it sounds like, yeah, it's not, there is no settlement. That's not going to be settling. He lost the civil case. So he's going to have to pay her some amount, whatever the court awards. Beyond a reasonable doubt is 100%. I don't think beyond a reasonable doubt is 100%. I think it's like 90. Nothing is 100%, right? Ayo, Destiny, I'm a YouTube lurker. Have you seen the jury made a decision on the Trump case? Yes, it was a civil case, meaning more than likely not, they feel like Trump harassed that woman, sexually assaulted that woman, and he's paying out like, I think, $5 million now to her, is what I saw.
I don't think this is a case where he's going to be able to say that everybody had it in for him. It looks to me like this jury looked at this pretty carefully and came to a reasonable conclusion. Do I know what happened any more than anyone else does, other than the people who were there? Of course not. But this is not the same thing as a witch hunt.
Yeah, I just want to play the piece of the deposition that Brian Yennis just mentioned in his reporting, because it goes to this issue of recognizing her, knowing her, and also what he said, the former president said about not, he would never have been attracted to her. Watch this.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla, yeah. That's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to?
No,
Here.
Carol.
Oh, is that?
The person you just pointed to was
I
E.
see.
Jean Carroll.
Who is that? Who is this?
And the woman on the right is your then wife?
I don't know.
Marla?
This was the picture. I assume that's John Johnson. Is that Carol? Because it's very blurry.
I believe that, it's not coming wrong, but I believe it at the time. He was trying to prove, one of his defenses was, I had never raped that woman. She's fucking hideous. And then I think they give him a picture of his wife and the woman, and he's like, and he points to his wife as the woman, while saying he would never fuck this woman. She's hideous.
Your thoughts on that, Andy, as it might have been interpreted by this jury?
Well, I think the context for this, Martha, is that he said she wasn't his type. So, the last person you would want to confuse her with would be someone you married.
Jeez. Yes. I just got some more information in my ear here.
Yeah, sure.
The Trump campaign coming in saying that this verdict will be appealed. And we know that the former president said earlier that he would appeal on unconstitutional silencing. Andy, what's the impact of the fact that this happens and also other cases are in the pipeline while he is a current candidate for the presidency of the United States and a fairly strongest one on his side of the aisle right now?
Yeah, I don't think, Martha, that we can say exactly how devastating this is, because nothing like this has ever happened before. My own view of this, for what it's worth, has been that there would be a steady attrition of support over time from former President Trump, simply because we don't know what the bottom of his potential liability is, because new things continue to pop up, other cases continue to pop up. It escaped my attention, for example, until a couple of days ago, that they've actually scheduled for October 3rd the trial in New York of the civil fraud case that Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York State, brought. So, you know, we're all focused on the potential criminal liability and the possibility the special counsel will bring charges. The New York Manhattan District Attorney has already brought charges. There's a question about whether they'll bring charges in Fulton County. But then, you know, staring right in front of us is this trial that's already been scheduled for October, which is a fairly key period of time when the primaries and the debates have gotten rolling. So I just think at a certain point, people are going to say that it's too much. It's not. It doesn't mean that you don't like President Trump or you don't think he was a good president. It's simply that to roll the dice on nominating somebody with these kinds of difficulties and baggage, I just can't see it.
This morning on Truth Social, Martha, the former president said that he hasn't had a chance to defend himself, but he has been given ample opportunity, to be clear, to testify in that court if he wanted to look at this jury in the eyes and to tell that exact same story, and he chose not to. We'll see very momentarily whether or not that strategy was a winning one. But again, two things they're looking at here. It's the battery charge, but also whether or not the former president defamed E. Jean Carroll in the moments after she went public with this accusation. Remember, this morning on Truth Social, Martha, the former president said that he hasn't had a chance to defend himself, but he had. But you can almost see the logic of the jury on this jury form. You know, they didn't feel they had enough to find that more serious claim. But they were allowed to have negative inferences against Donald Trump because he didn't appear. And the judge allowed a very wide array of testimony, more than I think some would be comfortable with. I mean, he did allow women to come in and say he did the same to me. He did allow the Access Hollywood tape to play. And then, of course, Donald Trump's own depositions undermined the defense to some extent. So for the jury's perspective, I think that they thought that they were going down the middle here in terms of rejecting the more serious count, but accepting that a battery occurred. Once they rape count, but you can almost see the logic of the jury on this jury form. You know, they didn't feel they had a.
Bro, gonna get arrested? No, this was a civil case. It's not getting arrested.
So I'm a conservative. I'll just keep that in mind when I ask you this. And this is really going back on some political shit from back in the day, but I think it's relevant with the primaries coming up. So I know you hate Jimmy Dore and that whole force the vote shit. I think that's fair.
Thanks.
My question is, though, when politicians run on specific policies and kind of talk out their ass, what kind of role do influencers like you or Jimmy Dore or anyone else have in like calling for them to do something?
I mean, people can run on policies and they can truly believe in those policies and also not be able to get anything done with those policies, right? Like AOC would probably vote to like socialize the country in some ways if she could, but she doesn't have the political capital in Congress to do it. So all she's there for is to push as far left as she can on whatever legislation does exist. And then if the opportunity ever comes out to make a further push left, like she's there as a figure that would support it, you know? But I mean, like, otherwise all that's going to happen is you're just going to keep purity testing your candidates and pushing them out of office because they're not getting your ideal thing done. But then like, what are you achieving at the end of the day? Like, it's not like if you put anybody else in there, they're going to get it done, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but then so like with the force the vote thing, right? Which we saw similarly with the Republicans trying to get stuff from McCarthy when it came to positions on different committees and whatnot in the House. They actually seems like I think they're crazy too, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, those crazy people. They seem like they actually extracted something, whereas like AOC her seat was taken away, and the only concession I think is was a pay-go exception within one of the spending kind of rules that exist for bills. I don't know what the quote-unquote squad extracted for their political capital, and I haven't seen them flex anything, or we could even say communicated that because you put us in office and we had the political capital that we did X, Y, or Z. I haven't even heard them kind of
I mean,
say
it's just like, it's
they've
for
done that.
representatives. Like, what do they even have the political capital for? Do they have the capital?
Well,
for
they had enough to make Nancy Pelosi not be speaker and do the same thing that the Republicans did. And I don't think, I know it was embarrassing for Kevin McCarthy not to get House speakership in like 2 weeks, but I don't even think that's going to play an effect in 2024. No one's going to run a political ad. Republicans couldn't confirm McCarthy in a week.
I would have to go back and check, but my understanding is they wouldn't have had enough to prevent Pelosi from becoming speaker. Because I thought that when I remember the rhetoric from Jimmy Dore and them, that the rhetoric was never like, we're going to hold this process up indefinitely. I thought their rhetoric was, let's force a vote and see where people stand on the issues. So even when it fails, we can have somebody to like account for their whatever, right? I thought that was the whole point. Not that they actually had enough votes to stall anything, but just they just wanted to get people on record as not voting for like Medicare for all. I thought that was
no. They hadn't. So this is where caucusing's weird, right? So like there's the Progressive Caucus in the Democratic Party, and there's about 13 members in there. And so from them who write in their own writings and things like that they're for Medicare for all and a bunch of other progressive bullshit, that 13 votes was enough to stall Nancy Pelosi from being elected speaker.
Are you sure that would all 13 have been on board if it actually came down to that vote?
Well, but the question is, I don't think it was all 13. So it was part of that group. But let's say all 13 could have gotten one concession. They haven't even communicated that a concession was made for the exchange of the progressive 13 doing that. Mm-hmm. And that's my issue with it is, and I think Jimmy Dore's biggest issue, to take him the most charitably, is that I don't even think they've communicated that they got anything for supporting Nancy Pelosi in a time where they could have withheld their vote for even a committee chairship or anything like that. And I think they should have done. Like, it's weird that AOC gets stripped of her seat when she had that point of leverage. Now, it could be that the other progressives, because they've been getting blown out with super PAC funding in some of these congressional races on the progressive side, so they may just be like, I don't want to deal with that shit. But even that's not communicated, and I don't think they would ever come out and say that's why they're not voting for progressive stuff. But I don't know. I think you're responsible to at least say what you're getting in consolation for your vote, but if you don't feel that way, I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to go back and visit the exact details of this, because I feel like I remember it a little bit differently. But I mean, for the broad principle of like, should you have to say what concessions you extract? I mean, I guess that's up to a lawmaker and their relationship with their voters. If their voters trust them, not to say in particular because it'd be embarrassing for somebody or whatever, then I mean, that's for the voters to decide. If the voters want to hear that and they're not getting it, then I mean, they should probably just vote them out of office, I guess. But it would probably, I guess, yeah, it just depends on what, I guess, that person's constituents want to hear from their elected representative, huh?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I know you said that you may talk to Cenk Uygur. That's the whole Justice Democrat. Their whole goal was to do something like Jimmy Dore said, which was like force the vote, was to get enough progressives in Democrat that they could at least get concessions. And the fact that whole political project fell apart is really interesting to me, because I'd like to know behind the scenes. Like, Cenk got BTFO'd for the animal bestiality stuff, but I'd be interesting. Well, and some sexism, but it'd be interesting to see, like, even Kyle Kalinske, like that whole political project they started ended up kicking them both out. To be fair, Kyle resigned, and then there's no concessions that were ever made that were progressive.
Well,
so if you do get a chance to talk about it, I would love you to get more in depth on that.
Okay.
But now going to, oh, sorry, what was that?
Okay, well, if I get to chat with them, I guess I'll ask them about it, sure.
Okay, because then here's the other thing. So, do you have an opinion about the primary process on the Democratic side kind of being rigged at this point? I don't know.
Because of like super delegates, or?
No, the moving the date so that South Carolina goes before Iowa, which is weird, and that the DNC representatives, at least on cable news, are saying that there's not going to be a debate, even though Marianne Williamson and RFK would qualify to hit a debate stage.
Has there ever been debates like that ever in the history of U.S. politics?
For a primary incumbent, like yeah, it's not gone well for the Democrats.
Wait, has there? I thought I could be wrong, but I thought that wasn't the case. I thought there's never been a party that's hosted debates against their primary, against their own president incumbent. I could be wrong on that, but
I'll look it up. But
also that would be a pretty fantastic thing. No, I don't think that'd be a good idea. That sounds like it'd be really unhealthy for the party.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But here's my gripe with the Biden presidency in some parts. Okay, obviously I'm a conservative, but if I was to take even a Biden-centric perspective, like if I voted for him, the whole they didn't pass $15 minimum wage bullshit, I think really rubbed me the wrong way, the way they canceled it, because I thought it was complete horseshit that they weren't allowed to pass it because of a parliamentarian declaring it.
Wait, the 15 an hour thing?
Yeah.
There absolutely was not enough support for 15 an hour minimum wage.
They took it out the bill though because they said the parliamentarian said it couldn't do it.
Sure, but they wouldn't have had the votes to pass that.
I don't disagree.
So I mean, like, I think there's a lot of like parliamentary processes where people do things for political reasons, so that people either don't waste time of voting or don't have to vote or something. But like, I mean, like, I don't like the point of like forcing that out to like take a vote on it when it for sure would have failed. Like, I don't know what the point of that would have been.
All right, so then let's even like the public option. Do you think Biden should have tried a public option? Like, which one of his promises should he have tried?
I mean, I think all Biden can realistically do as president is to point the country in the direction we want it to go and to support veto bills that we don't like, and then cheerlead bills that we do like. But I don't think Biden is single-handedly like passing like minimum wage increase or anything. I wouldn't expect him to, and I don't think he even has the power to. I don't even know if he could cheerlead something like that.
Well, he didn't even cheerlead it.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm not sure. I mean, like, even Hillary was on board with the 15-hour minimum wage, but I don't think there was ever enough support in Congress for. I'd have to go back and check where Biden stood on 15-hour minimum wage, but we never had the support in the Senate for a 15-hour minimum wage.
All right, I think it was in the bill. It was in the Build Back Better. They took it out and they stripped it. Build Back Better was a bill that Joe Biden was pushing, but
sure, but this bill didn't even. It's not like the bill passed the Senate with 15-hour minimum wage in it, right? Like,
I know the bill didn't pass.
Yeah,
it got killed and then became the Inflation Reduction Act. But sure. Let's even take like the public option. Do you think? I mean, okay, I guess broader picture. When Gavin Newsom in California is like, we're for Medicare for all, and then they don't do shit and they have like a super majority for years and years and years and years, and they still don't do anything. Like, how do you not get kind of like doomer pilled about Democrats not keeping the promises?
I mean, like, what they don't have the votes for. I don't know what is
they do. Yeah, they do, and the Democrats totally have the votes to do Medicare for all in California.
Oh, in California?
100%. Yeah.
Doesn't California already have like Medi-Cal?
Yeah, but that's not Medicare for all. You have to be in a specific strata to get to Medi-Cal. Like,
I would have to look up specifically what I feel like that's half true. I feel like when you say you're a conservative, what you really mean is you voted Republican, but you're not like a full on like you. How old are you?
31.
Did you ever support like Bush?
I was dude. You're not gonna believe. When I was in college, I was a state rep for Utah.
Okay.
For Bernie Sanders.
Okay, no, I totally believe that. Yeah, okay. Because when you say you're a conservative, what you really mean is you're a populist, and you watch like Jimmy Dore and like this cabinet of people are the type of people that you watch. Which is fine. I'm not using that as a pejorative or whatever. Because initially, when you say conservative, I think of like MAGA Trump person, but that's not really.
Right. I voted for Trump the second time around.
Sure, but as
I didn't vote for him the first time.
Yeah, but not like as a hardcore like conservative, like you used to be neocon, then you were a Tea Party, or now you're a Trump person. But more like Trump because he represents like this anti-establishment bend that you also supported Bernie Sanders for. Right?
Well, I did phone banking for John McCain, so if you want to go all the way back to high school.
Well, I don't know how much I'll count your high school thing.
Yeah.
Why did I bring
Me
this
being
up?
a populist.
I would have to I don't know enough about California politics, but I feel like I feel like it's what do you think is happening? Do you think that they have enough to pass enough to get Medicare for all, but they just don't care to? They actually just lied about what they wanted to do, or?
Well, they say these stuff in primary. This is my issue, is that in the primaries, obviously, like for example, like when Ted Cruz in the Republican primary said he wanted to carpet bomb ISIS, which is a batshit thing to say, right? You kind of say this stupid shit. Same with like Beto O'Rourke saying like he wants to take all guns away, like AR-15s are gonna go. Like you say this stuff for kind of the splash in the primaries to get like a lot of stuff. And so I know Gavin Newsom over the years has progressively said like more and more, he's so presidential hungry that he says like super progressive stuff to set himself up to become governor, to do X, Y, or Z. The fact that he says it, I think, is just a problem in the fact that doesn't seem to be a good faith effort for them to actually try to pass the policies. Gotcha. And that's kind of where I have the issue.
And you don't think if he passed that, you don't think it would make him like ultra popular with his constituency if he had the ability to do so?
Well, the problem is like the Democrat capture of California. I don't know if it matters politically for him to do it.
If that doesn't matter, then why even talk about it then? Just to win primaries? Or because like wouldn't he end up just getting primaried by somebody that says they're actually going to do it? It seems to me like shitty political strategy to like intentionally lie and then get into office and then intentionally fuck around and not do anything. That just seems like really dog shit political strategy to me. Like, yeah, go ahead.
The fact that, okay, so like it's complicated because you obviously have to go to like state politics and talk about like what are these people saying and all that. The issue is like when you put a D next to your name, there should be some level of understanding or agreement that you adhere to some of the political platform of the Democratic Party, and maybe not every single policy, but there should be some things that because you're putting a Democrat near your name, you should be kind of pushing for those policies. I think Medicare for all, at least from, we could say like 2016 with like Bernie Sanders bringing it up and even Joe Biden talking about a public option, there should be some kind of, I think there's some level base that is the policy of a movement to like a government subsidized healthcare option.
I'm looking for this California thing. So here's a quote. The Medicare for All California bill died because it costs $400 billion a year. Newsom declined to weigh in on the last major legislative push for single payer, a bill by Assemblyman Ash Kalra. That measure was abruptly pulled by Kalra last year after fellow Democrats balked the price tag, which ranged from an estimated $341 billion to $391 billion.
Yeah. I don't disagree it's unfeasible. I just think why are you saying that you're going to do it? That's my issue.
Okay, so state budget California. How much does California even spend? I'm just curious. Governor's proposed budget. Is this in millions? Oh, so this would be the cost of this would have been over the entire state budget of the entire state. What did he originally promise? Like, did he say like, I promise, like I'm gonna run on Medicare for all for California? Was that something that Newsom said? Newsom statements on Medicare for all California. Well, this says Newsom backs away from single payer healthcare pledge.
Yeah, those are the most new ones.
Build a new state budget crowd about California being the nation's first universal coverage. Let's go by extending state Medi-Cal coverage to undocumented immigrants of all ages beginning in 2024. So in 2018, he pledged to create a single-payer system. Okay, so it seems like this is something that he promised and didn't deliver on.
Yeah, okay. I'm not crazy. I'm sorry I don't have all the quotes.
No, you're fine.
All I'm saying, okay, I agree in like institutions and things like that. It's just there's a couple things. Like I worked for Ford Motor Company, for example, and it's 100,000 employees. All right. And are you familiar with like agile development at all?
Unfortunately, a little bit. Yeah. What about it?
Okay. So in agile development, there's like key fundamental differences between like traditional IT things, and Ford wanted to move from being traditionally IT where you kind of do things in a waterfall development to an agile development. And that quote unquote transformation process that they did, they were like, we can do that in 3 years. And then it took them 7. All right. So I understand kind of like the bureaucratic nightmare, the people that are in there and all that, but there's not like a lot of transparency from like the lower level people explaining the problems in an effective way that newer people can do. So similarly, you're familiar with the what's his face that leaked all the classified documents from the National Guard?
The kid on Discord or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so having some insights on that, because of people I know, what happened is a lot of those documents were on basically the lower level network because people didn't label things properly. So when you do confidentiality things, you have to label it certain ways so that when it's on different networks, people can't access it.
Okay.
And you put it in different folders. It's pretty archaic, but that's how that worked. The thing is that all that, like when I was at Ford and I saw people posting like secret projects at Ford, similarly to my friend who talked about being able to see confidential things like this, like there's not a way for you to communicate like here's X, Y, or Z systematic issues that are happening at the lower levels to fix it to the bigger levels.
There's not a way for, wait, repeat that last thing. There's not a way for...
To take systematic issues that are happening at the lower levels and communicate to the higher levels to make a change or difference.
Okay. What I guess what's something that you'd like to see implemented, or what do you think is something that could work?
In government or business or what?
I guess in business if you want.
So in business, like one of the things that I think a lot of companies get wrong, and this goes in the government too, is that when you're in a vendor purchasing, are you familiar? Oh, you've never worked in like this, but when you do like have negotiations with vendors, you'll do what's called an RFQ, which is, or in an RFI, which is basically saying like, why should we go with your vendor product versus another vendor product? And then you'll pay a team, usually from Deloitte or KPMG or one of the big 4 accounting firms, to tell you like which product to go for. Okay. And during that whole process, you don't actually have the end users of the product that are going to have to use the tool involved in that process to make the decision.
Okay. And so by like here, for end users, are the end users the employees of the company or customers of the company?
The employees and or customers.
Okay, so it could be either one. Okay, gotcha.
So like with Ford, I know a lot about Ford because I worked there. With Ford, they had their infotainment system called Sync. You have that within your Ford Focus RS?
Unfortunately, yes, I do.
Okay, so Sync is a whole piece of shit because what Ford did is they went to Microsoft, and Microsoft said, we can design the infotainment system cheaper than any of your other competitors. They could have gone to Google, got Android Auto or Apple Auto like early in the days, but they went with Microsoft because it was cheaper, and that's when Microsoft was doing shitty stuff like Zune and stuff. Okay. And so by the time their touchscreen stuff gets into what's called Sync 2, before Sync 3 came over, but Sync 3 has remnants of it, that's why it's such a shitty infotainment system, because Microsoft's like the one that designed it.
Okay.
And this is back in like Windows 8 piece of shit kind of design.
Gotcha. I didn't even know touchscreens have been around for that long, but I guess that's possible, yeah.
Yeah. So the issue with all that is, like, are you familiar with autonomous vehicles at all?
With a ton of vehicles?
Autonomous vehicles.
I know like what a Tesla is, but I don't know. It depends on what you're asking for the question. I mean.
Okay, yeah. So Tesla's the most famous. Every single company is trying to do autonomous vehicles.
Okay.
One of the things in an autonomous vehicle is you actually have to design the car to house all the radars and everything in it to basically run the autonomous vehicle, to make sure that it has all the detection, all the things like that. I don't know if you've ever seen those memes where people go to a graveyard and you can see like people running around the Tesla automated feature.
I haven't, but so I kind of understand what you're saying. You probably have to build a car around these features. You can't just make a normal car and then just throw these in, is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so Ford was designing what's called the autonomous transit, which is their van version of, have you ever seen a transit?
Nope.
You know what I'm talking about? It's a van.
Okay.
So it's basically a work van, and the idea, the concept was we're going to have an autonomous work van that companies can use so that your like Safe Flight repairman or your plumber or Cox Cable can have these autonomous vehicles.
Okay, I've probably seen it before. I just don't know the name, but yeah.
That whole thing got fucked up because one guy contracted out of Russia incorporated in the module a defect in the frame, so much so that was so bad that they would have had to done, I think, like 6 months worth of redevelopment. But my personal friend who worked on that project and many other people tried to raise that up to management, saying like, hey, this idiot, this one guy has made this disastrous decision, and they couldn't get any traction on that for like 6 months.
Okay.
If I wanted, like in business and government, and this is a whole long story, the middle management needs to die. It needs to go away. Middle management is the bane of every single company. It's the worst thing that any company could have, is a bunch of layers of management. And it's also the worst thing I think that we have in our government, that low-level employees have 3 or 4 or 5 different layers of management before you could do anything. And that's why I think that there's all these like weird whistleblowers coming out, because there's not a way bureaucratically to address like an issue at a low-level staffer point within your management structure.
Gotcha.
And so
So this is a viewpoint that I'm sympathetic to. So obviously I don't have any professional corporate world experience. I just have like my itty bitty projects that I work on and my itty bitty associations I do with people. So obviously take everything I say with a grain of salt. I feel from a so would you consider yourself really? Are you like a developer, or what would you be? What would your job be?
I'm technically a technical software consultant at this point.
Okay, sure. So I feel like the complaint from developers a lot is that middle management represents a layer of like bureaucratic nightmares that don't have a good understanding fundamentally of the projects that are being worked on. They don't always understand like maybe technical limitations. They don't understand like that sometimes what's being asked for by upper management is sometimes even impossible. They get frustrated by new development schemes or et cetera, that people that work as developers have a lot of complaints related to middle management, and these are complaints that get echoed through every industry, every type of worker over and over and over again, which I'm understanding of that, and I'm sympathetic towards that. Something that I hear from middle management, and then something I've got a very little, but a little bit of firsthand experience with, is I feel like developers, far overestimate their competency at running a project. That left to their own devices, we could make fun of a middle manager for saying, you know, like, I need this high quality product built for $20 in 2 days or whatever. Like, that would be something that they would say. Like, a developer would actually say they could do that on their own, and then they would take 10x the time, be working on a totally different product by the time they're done with it, and then run into 50 million complications outside of their area of expertise that they never foresaw. So like, I can definitely understand the frustration from the developer side, and everything you're saying like makes sense, but like something that wouldn't surprise me, and I could be wrong, I'm totally talking about my ass, but like when you say that there was that one guy that had that problem and that was the whole reason why that project got axed, it wouldn't surprise me if you started to dig into it more, that there were actually a lot more problems that just weren't like immediately noticeable, and that this is the reason why shit ends up not going as well as we'd like it to. Like, I think there's a reason why there haven't been a collection of developers that have just started their own company and then been wildly successful. Is because some level of like middle management is actually pretty crucial for keeping people on task and on time and delivering products at a reasonable rate, rather than just letting developers work at their own pace like for hours on end and like actually accomplishing nothing. That's just like a feeling I have. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that sentiment. But okay, so when I was working at Ford, there's 7 layers of management. So if you're on a developer on a team, there's 6 managers you would have to convince to make an end change on a project funding.
Sure. And that sounds like garbage, but then also Ford was the only one of like the 3 American car companies to actually survive like the huge car company meltdown, right? So it seems like they've got something. And I think Ford is like internationally, aren't they like the only kind of respected American car company? Like everybody else got fucked, no?
It's complicated. They basically just took personal debt. So instead of the bailout, they took their own personal debt. GM took the government bailout, but in terms of like the government, when GM took that bailout, they actually had to clean up, because they had government oversight, a ton of their bureaucracy. Whereas like Ford, because they took their own money, they could just kind of reorg and redo without kind of the adherence to the government stuff. So there's a question about Ford and GM, like if you want to get into that rivalry, it's fine. The thing with Ford is that they basically had a CEO who came in and made sure they didn't go bankrupt.
Sure.
And since then, their CEOs have been kind of mediocre.
Okay.
And they still have debt on the books from the 2008 bailouts.
Sure.
Like, during that crash.
Do you?
And so,
well, here's like a question I guess I have. Why hasn't there been like a big like employee-led, like where are like all these co-ops forming or these like employee-led businesses if they can do it so much better without any middle management? Why doesn't anybody just like start these businesses and then go and like, you know, tear through the business world and kick ass?
there's a lot in software. So I think, so I work in cloud software now, so I took a pivot in my career. But so, how much do you know about FinOps?
Is that like financial, like fintech, or I don't have no idea. Financial operations?
So when you do, I don't know how nerdy we want to get in this, but when you take your cloud, like let's say you're using cloud resources, you receive a bill, and FinOps is the idea of being able to take that bill and then appropriately attribute those costs to the different aspects of your business. So that's what I do now.
Jesus.
There's actually a huge movement in the space where there are a ton of players because it's a very new space.
Okay.
And because right now, the way that you get your cloud bill, called a curve file if you use AWS, for example, there's not a good way to actually figure out like, okay, this EC2 instance that's running provided X value to this part of our business. And so in the space that I'm at, there's a huge amount of startups that are happening with developers, but that's also because there's like kind of a low level of entry to capital. So in my opinion, there are a lot of like developers going out on their own like that, but it's mostly because there's like a low entry to how much capital you need to start a company like that. Whereas like car companies, you're fucked. Like Elon Musk did it because he had his own capital from PayPal. But most car companies, even if you look at like Fisker, Canoe, if you want to look at Rivian, all of them had to basically give venture capitalists money to then produce their electric vehicles. And they're all electric vehicles because that was kind of the, I guess the big secret to expose about electric vehicles. It's the cheapest way to design a vehicle versus like internal combustion engine, because for example, you don't need to design a transmission. You don't need to design like a whole lot of other aspects of the car that you traditionally need to do for an internal combustion engine.
Gotcha.
So I would even say like there is a lot of people pushing, even in like the electric car side. I'd say there's a lot of startups in that space too, but you're limited by the amount of like capital that's there, and then you usually get bought up by other venture capitals and things like that when you're in that intensive of a business.
Okay. All right. Well, damn.
But like going back to the government complaint, so how much do you know about arms dealing?
Not too much, but I have to do a call pretty quickly. So give me your one big. What was like one? I guess one. If you could do one big change, I guess for government, what would be one thing you'd want to see changed?
That basically for private functions, the government has about 3 to 1 employees, and there should be some kind of bureaucratic reorg to fix that.
Gotcha. Okay. So probably similar feelings for corporate world as well, I'm guessing, or that's where your feelings come from.
For a lot of the Fortune 5, and I think Elon buying Twitter and purging people really like cut the fat from Meta, cut the fat from a lot of these companies that really were sticking on a lot of losers.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, hey, listen. I love everybody. Thanks for the call-in.
Yep. See you.
Yeah. Be careful, dude.
anger is a bad. Yeah.
Your part. Okay to
for being here. Psychor, $10. Hiring a servant with your millions when you're fresh out of surgery and wife is minutes from birthing twins. Cringe. Berating your massively pregnant wife for not doing all your chores. Based.
Yeah, this is this lie that if a woman is married to a rich man, that if she doesn't feel like doing something, that he should just hire somebody to take care of it for her. Women who are married to wealthy men are not just window dressing. They have obligations just like the man, and they should be held accountable instead of saying, well, if she doesn't want to do it, you have enough money to pay for her to do it. That doesn't make any sense.
Isn't Hillary Clinton like an actress or a model or something? Like, I imagine she probably wasn't working at that time, but doesn't she have like tons of things that she does? Probably
said Hillary Clinton. You meant Hillary Crowder?
Yeah, I meant Hillary Crowder. Her too, though. I'm pretty sure Hillary Clinton's a really good model.
She's
Super
hot.
hot. Yep.
They should both be locked up.
All right, let's continue on. Flamio, $5. Thanks for coming back. If Steven Crowder is abusing his spouse by debating her, then modern day debate is an underground fight club. We're not supposed to talk about it. Anybody want to comment on that?
Different behaviors are appropriate in different settings. Having an argument with somebody when they're clearly emotionally distressed and they're trying to take space, and then telling them that they're not allowed to take space, is pretty abusive.
Claiming that it's okay to have more emotional range in an online debate than it is to have an argument with your wife is ridiculous. You should be able to share more of your emotions with your wife. Get angrier, get more invested, be more honest with her.
No one is saying that you can't be invested. Nobody is saying that you can't be angry, and nobody's saying that you can't be honest. It's like straw man after straw man after straw man. There are different ways that I would engage with my online community that I would not engage with my wife, that I not engage with my son, that I wouldn't engage with my parents. Of course, that's obviously true. It's not a matter of showing a different range. It's just a matter of appropriate
So give one example. Give one example when you can be.
Give an example.
When you could raise your voice towards a spouse.
I don't think it's ever good to raise your voice towards a spouse.
Okay.
Oh,
then
well, that's crazy.
We win again.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's actually
another
crazy.
win for the Thorpes.
True. Raising
the
voices
Destiny
towards
sphere is over,
spouses
and
equals
not so erudite is over.
based.
Ever raising your voice?
No,
Ever?
you shouldn't. Raising your voice usually means you're emotionally dysregulated. It's probably not a good thing to do.
So if your wife's
you
about to
can't
walk
express
off a cliff and she's not aware of it, you can't say, "Hey, stop!"
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right,
Are we
according
talking?
to you.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna take a giant debate, L. There are times when you raise your voice. If your wife's about to walk into traffic and you're trying to warn her not to, or if she's walking in the park and a snake is chasing her, then you can say,
So
"Why?"
now you're going back on
yeah,
what
I
you
am.
just said.
I just say I am going back. You're right. That's a big debate. W for you.
So
there
take
are
the
times
L,
you're gonna,
right.
yeah,
So
true.
another L
I
for
did.
you,
Huge L.
another
My
W on
bad.
this
Yeah, you
side.
got me there. Okay.
Do you think there's ever like a time where it's going to be really emotionally healthy and like helpful to your relationship to like insult your wife or tell her that you don't love her?
Yes.
Is that like part of the range of emotions that you need to show your spouse?
Yes, to show her that
in certain circumstances, yes, I would say.
if she's
and
made
children
you angry because
and
she's
everyone.
if she's made you angry because she's doing wrong, you should communicate that to her. That's healthy communication.
Do you think that you can healthily communicate that you've been...
Stop doing this. No one is saying that you can't communicate anger. Why do you keep doing this weird dichotomy?
Yeah, you just said it.
No,
Steven,
she asked you. Hold on. Erudite asked you if it was okay to scream at your wife. Erudite asked you if it was okay if you scream at your wife. Yeah, Erudite asked if it was okay to scream at your wife, and then you counter this. You should be able to show anger, and you should be able to show emotion, whatever. No one is saying that you can't do that. Stop
Yes,
with the
you
weird.
are.
No one is. Stop doing the weird dichotomy
Well,
there.
what happens? What happens
I
when
asked
you
you for
express
one
anger?
example. You didn't
What
have to let
happens
Grace
when you
speak.
express anger? What happens?
You don't have to scream or shout or
what
demean.
happens?
The idea that
You
you guys
raise
have...
your voice and you get
No.
emotionally invested.
Grace.
That is part of getting
No,
angry.
no, there are two ways to process emotions always. It's called externalizing and internalizing.
Men show
Hold on.
anger more aggressively.
I almost got you. I almost got you.
Please.
The fact that you think that you cannot express an emotion unless you're being abusive to your partner is insane. You can show your anger in a ton of ways. For example, when Nick and I get angry at each other, we almost always take a time out because it's not very healthy to show your partner your anger because you typically say things that you would otherwise regret. What we do instead... Okay, go off, Queen, about our relationship. But what we do instead is take some space,
about what you said.
regulate ourselves down. The idea that you must at all times maximally show precisely how you feel and never filter it at all is just immaturity. You're just being emotionally
Okay, so this
immature.
shows your bias. You think that anger is a bad emotion to have.
Nobody
Did I say
said that
Actually,
anger is a bad
expressing it-
emotion to have. There are ways you can express anger that doesn't involve you
expressing anger-
shouting.
No,
Okay,
you
here's a good
guys are
example.
changing
I'm
your
frustrated
position.
with both of you right now, and I'm raising my voice a little bit because I'm frustrated. Is that super bad? Do I think that that's bad? What do you think?
You're arguing that it is.
You said
Another
that you
L
would
for
never
your
raise
side.
your voice
course
You're
I'm not.
arguing that it is.
You would never raise your voice to your
Let's
partner.
let Grace speak, please.
But you said that. So according to your own definition, you're abusing us, right?
No, we don't have that relationship. We're people on the internet. We can shout and scream at each other. It's a different context.
Oh, but with the person you trust the most, you can't share your emotions? How does that make any sense?
If I tell you,
you can't be
if I
honest
tell
about how you feel.
No, it's not about being honest. If I tell you, if I
Let's
tell
let
you,
Steven talk,
I think
please.
you're being retarded, or I think you're a retard. That hits a lot different than if I tell my son I think he's a retard. Do you acknowledge the difference there? Yes or no?
Yeah, I acknowledge that difference.
Okay, thank
but
you.
Also,
So then there's a difference between me getting upset at you or Erina getting upset in this conversation with you guys when the context is like a debate that we're having versus getting upset about resolving a personal issue in a relationship with a significant other.
Okay.
Those are two different
Look,
contexts.
Look.
I'm also not yelling at you guys. I'm raising my voice.
I'm yelling.
You changed it. You said there's no context in which, and I asked you, I gave you the big win. You just gave me one context in which a man can raise his voice at his spouse. You said, I choose not to engage, and you took your first L, and you're keeping them coming at you. Now, if you say, of course, that with your children and with your spouse, you should start from a position of kindness and gentleness, of course. But you're the ones who are saying that in no context can what Steven Crowder did be understandable. And you are wrong by your own admission.
No one is saying understandable. We're saying, and there are times when people do raise their voice. Nobody's perfect, but what we're saying is you can express anger and all sorts of, and disappointment and all sorts of other things without being angry, or I'm sorry, without screaming.
You can express anger without being angry.
Abusive.
You can express anger without being angry.
Everybody, hold on.
Here's like
hold on. Hold on. We're gonna let Ben wrap up his thoughts there. Oh, he's lighting a cigarette.
I can wrap up my thoughts and smoke.
It's all good. All right, so we'll let you speak and finish up your thoughts, and we'll pass back to Steven.
You guys are changing your position, and you're going to take yet another L. You said it's definitely abusive what Steven said, and all we're saying is I could see a context in which it makes perfect sense. And you said nope. And Kyla actually tried to give you guys a little out, and then you took it from her by saying no, honey. No context whatsoever, and she agreed with you, and that's where you took your first L, and you can't get out of it now. You said that, and you've lost the debate, so let's move on.
Okay, here are the two statements that Kyle and I are making that you guys can't seem to wrap your head around, okay? Number one is you can express anger or disappointment or contempt without screaming or shouting at somebody, okay? For instance, I can say, you're a failure of a wife, or I can say, hey, this household is very stressful for me, and I'm very upset because you can't seem to do your responsibilities, and it is hurting me, right? You're expressing the same thing there in two totally different ways, okay? Both partners are angry and feel like their wife is failing their obligation. In one, you can express it in a very derisive, condescending, evil way. In a second way, you can express it in a, hey, I'm feeling hurt about this. You're not living up to your obligations, okay? So that's the first thing we're making. The second one is screaming, shouting, or being derisive or aggressive or angry towards your partner, or expressing that in a screaming, shouting, snarky sort of way is almost never conducive to solving problems. Those are the two statements we're making, okay? Not that you can never be angry, not that you should never ever be mean, not that being mean makes you instantly abusive, not that you can never hold them responsible for anything. We've never made any of those statements. We don't even agree with those things.
Okay, so you're going back on what you said, and you said there is no context in which Steven Crowder's behavior can be perfectly understandable, even though we've given you one.
Understandable? Sorry, you can take that if you want. No one is...
And
there's tons of
morally
things.
fine.
I can
And
understand
morally
why some
fine.
people kill people. To understandable is not the same thing as morally acceptable.
Perfectly morally acceptable.
All right, I'm sorry, fellas. Let's let Erudite in here, please.
So we need to be clear about what we said. There are certain things where we said there's no context that we think these statements can ever be helpful, which was 3 specific statements. We started this. The reason why so many people on the internet are mad at Steven and I is because we said from the very beginning, you can't say much about a 3-minute video and how it confers to the rest of the relationship. The idea that we've just denied that context can exist outside of this, that might make certain statements that look bad become more benign, of course we've acknowledged that. That's been our position the whole time. There are 3 specific statements that are self-evidently toxic, which is, I don't love you, I'm going to fuck you up. And now I can't remember the other one. In these cases, no, there is no context where you need to say to your wife, I'm going to fuck you up, or I don't love you. There just isn't.
Even though I've given you them. Even though I've given you context.
You've never given us a statement where it's okay to say, I don't love you.
If you don't feel love towards somebody, that's okay to say.
Okay, then in that case,
Why
the
is wrong
relationship
about
is
that?
then the relationship is over.
We're not debating whether
Right.
the relationship's over.
Let's-
We're debating
we're
whether
having a
he's
crisis.
abusive. Whether
Let's let
he's
Grace speak,
abusive.
please.
You're saying that's abusive. I'm saying it's not abusive if he doesn't love her anymore. How is that abusive? It's honest.
Okay, it's either abusive or it's relationship terminating then, if you'd like to add the second one. I thought we were coming at this from the context of trying to fix problems in a relationship. So if you want to say that, you can say...
You guys
if
said he
wanna
was
say-
negotiating.
Yeah,
Let's
you
Steven
guys
speak
were
over him.
claiming that it was a negotiation. You said that he was trying to solve a problem, and now you're saying, well, it's okay to say you don't love somebody if
have
you're ready
to
to
be
end the
honest.
relationship.
Let's
Okay,
let Steven
then
finish.
honestly, is the relationship is done then. In that case, it's good that Hillary left. You guys should be championing that she left, because Stephen Crowder said he didn't love her anymore. That's fine, which is perfectly rational. If your husband doesn't love you anymore, why the f*** did you stay? So, okay, cool, based.
Yeah, I think it was an end game thing. Now, I actually wanted to say, like, this is the larger context, is emotions. What you're saying is that the emotions that the typical way that men, big, strong, masculine men express emotions is wrong and immoral, right? And you're saying they have to have this therapist type of talk. That's not true. That's why men who are for example, Steve Jobs was notorious. I'm no big Steve Jobs fan. He was notorious for demanding a lot of his highly paid employees, and he didn't beat around the bush. And when Hillary Crowder married Steven Crowder, okay, she married a man like this, and that is attractive, okay? But if you say, well, no, you've got to clip yourself and act like Steven would act with a female always, that's not fair.
Great. So since you're not talking to Steve and I, because literally nobody said any of those things, I guess there's like an extra ghost in the room. Do you want to talk to my plant? Maybe the
He did
plant
say
has been
those
saying
things.
that.
He used a specific example of where you can't have a certain tone, and then he said what you need to do is this therapy talk and go, I'm having trouble with you. Right?
Steve Jobs was notoriously
Why
seen as an
can't-
asshole by literally everybody. Steve Jobs was the CEO of a company bossing around his employees. Steven Crowder, clearly his strategy didn't work because now he is divorced, and Steven Crowder's wife is not his employee. So your example literally fortifies what I'm saying and fails at what you're saying at every single stage of the way, unless you think a husband ought to treat his wife like a CEO who was notoriously known as being an asshole and died of fucking ass cancer or whatever because he ate too many vegetables, okay, that everybody fucking hated, that's like the gold standard for how to treat a partner. But none of that makes sense.
Would you say that relationships have commonalities? The relationship between a parent and a kid, between spouses, between co-workers, there are commonalities.
There are some commonalities, but there's also crucial differences.
Okay, and your difference is that you can never raise your voice or express anger in a kind of honest way. You have to clip it and always be this kind of therapist about it when a man is dealing with a woman. But I haven't heard you say that backwards. I haven't heard you say
this like Steven Crowder was just being really honest and vulnerable with his wife about his feelings is just dishonest. That is not what happened. Hillary said, but Steven, I love you. And then he said, I don't love you. And I've never experienced love from you. He was whinging out and getting upset.
No, he wasn't doing that. You're exaggerating.
You can be pro-masculinity without being pro-toxicity, right? You can be pro-masculinity.
You're anti-masculine. You just
not actually.
Yes, you did. You just made fun of him and exaggerated and tried to make him look like he was crying. He wasn't.
What's more emasculating than getting divorced from your wife and losing access to both your children?
He was fighting to keep the access.
Do that to him.
He wasn't fighting to keep the access. He fucking drove his wife out of the household.
Right. So what you would do is go, yeah, honey, okay, all your failures, just keep them coming, and I'll hire someone to do what you have to do. You can never confront a woman.
So just to be clear, when I'm making fun of...
I just want to affirm I did say that. You can never confront a woman ever. I just want to make sure we all understand that's what I'm saying. Go ahead, Kyle.
I asked you to give me an example. You couldn't.
So just to be clear, I'm making fun of Steven Crowder for being toxically feminine in this case, right? He's being like manipulative and trying to coerce her through his words of saying, I don't love you, and I've never experienced love from you. That's what I'm making fun of him. He's being toxic, and in this case, I think he's being feminine as well. And that's why I'm making fun of him, because it's cringe. It's toxic and inappropriate behavior.
He is being vulnerable. Yes.
No, he's
toxic
not.
to
How is he
say
being
that
vulnerable?
She's beating the shit out of him. She's beating the shit out of him, and he's taking it.
That's toxic to say.
No. Did I say it's always toxic to say these things? I said, I don't love you, and I've never experienced love to you, in response to her saying, but I love you. I want to work on this. Is toxically feminine.
She didn't say I want to work on this. You're adding things. She said, I love you, I'm committed to you, and then a couple months later she divorced him.
What
She's
does I'm
lying
committed to you? What does I'm committed to you mean? But I want to work on things.
But then she went and divorced him. She was
He hired
lying.
a divorce
That doesn't
lawyer.
matter.
But you know, he hired a divorce lawyer.
In the context of this, if she said,
was
Steven,
honest.
I love you and I'm committed to you, and his response is to lash out and go, I don't love you, and I've never experienced love from you.
But see, you keep feminizing him. You
It's a
keep
toxic lash
feminizing
out.
him. You keep turning it into him crying like a baby. He was.
Well, the other option is he's being toxically masculine, I suppose, but we can watch it again. I'm pretty sure when he says it,
No,
it's
there's
not like
another
this, like,
option.
really impressive
There's
thing where it's
another
been like,
option, Kyla, and that
look,
is
wife,
that he was.
I'm out of this relationship.
Okay,
We've
right.
come to the place, I don't love you anymore, wife. That's not
Right.
happening.
So that's the only two ways you can interpret masculine behavior. Because you hate men.
True.
We can watch the reaction video if you want to share it up there, Grace.
Okay, hang on. Let me find it.
Yeah. All right, let's share the
See
reaction
if it looks
video.
like what Kyla portrayed it as. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It looks like a man at his wit's end. And I sympathize with Steven Crowder. And if he's watching, I do want to have a conversation about your situation because I think it can help. And Grace can help too. Grace wants to go to that patio and give the dog his medicine and take the dog for a walk and be grateful and anything else he needs after what he's been put through.
I would be happy. He needs some feminine support after being attacked by this bitch. Okay, let me find it. Oh, here we go. I don't love you. Okay. Share screen.
Make sure you share the audio if there's audio to be had.
We need you to stop engaging for a little bit, okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you, and the fact is, when I go...
Okay, that's the part right there. I can keep going, but...
Okay, so how does that sound like what Kyla said?
Because she's literally saying, Steven, I love you. I'm committed to you. And then that sounds to me like somebody that's trying to or wants to work on it. And then he's saying, I don't love you. I've never received love from you. That sounds like somebody that's given up. So in the context of this recording, sounds like he's the one that's given up and he's ready to throw in the towel. And I'm pretty sure he's the one that hires the divorce lawyer like a month after this video.
I can explain that, but I think we're at an impasse. If you think his reaction there is, Steven, we're at an impasse. If you think his reaction there
I don't
not
love you.
reasonable.
Steven, I love you. I'm committed to you. Well, I don't love you. And the big problem here is that I've never received love from you.
Okay,
It's
so
like,
you in your
whoa.
imagination think that is what happened. And so we're experiencing two different realities, Kyla.
He
and
did
you
not
are
say
wrong.
that.
I'm on planet Earth and you're somewhere out in outer space in anti-masculine land. And you should get the hell out of the manosphere and stop telling men what to do because they should know that you are a hater of men. Don't give
There you
them
go.
any
As
more
long
advice.
as you say it
Get the fuck away from
confidently
men.
enough, anything can be true. Let me see it here.
Yeah,
Keep
cope all
telling
you
it.
want.
Did you
Cope all
win
you
too?
want.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing here. We're exposing you for what you are, which is a man hater.
How are you? It's never mind.
You're actually both
Go ahead,
emotion
Steven.
leaders, too.
What?
If you had something to say there, Steven, if you wanted to.
No, I'm fine.
Neither of you should be giving advice to anyone about anything.
Okay, I will
Least
say
of
it.
all
Never mind.
relationships.
You are a man who is divorced from his wife, defending another man who just got
No,
divorced
I'm
from his
not.
wife for toxic behavior, talking to two people that are happily married about how to maintain a happy marriage. How are you telling us that we're not qualified to give advice on
You want to
this?
go
It is
into
the
your
most
marriage?
insane fucking
You
thing in
want
the
to go
world.
into your marriage? You told me yesterday that you would kill your child, and that the only thing keeping you from it would be the inconvenience of driving your car to the abortion clinic. You are a disgusting person.
True, babe.
Say that.
I would have an abortion. Yes.
Let's try not to reference prior.
Well, he referenced himself
I
as
did
an
reference
example.
myself. True.
That is.
And
that
we can
is
talk
fair.
about Kyla too if we want, but I won't go there.
You can't talk about my relationship because there's nothing. Like if,
Right,
if you want like a
exactly,
picture perfect of just like a really
Thanks for-
healthy, happy
thanks for
relationship,
letting us.
you can find Nick and I. Okay. We're so happy and healthy that we're my main insult on like many spaces that I'm boring. Okay. But go
Well,
on, King.
let's continue on, and it's
Maybe
always-
I'm not here to say like.
Okay.
I'm
no,
not
you're
here to judge your relationship, but there are signs here.
but
Everyone's seen them.
True.
This was an incredible launch off of then modern day debate is an underground fight club, which I know Oflamio knows we're not supposed to talk about that. So, positive $10. Destiny is based and Giga Chad because he can give the best argument for either side with no attachment. He even delivers better people who are super attached to their side. I think he means delivers arguments. Delivers better people who are super attached to their side. This is based, not flip-flop.
Wow.
There's a lot of missing punctuation
I
there.
can't tell if they're a fan of Destiny or a hater of Destiny.
There's a bit of missing punctuation.
I would agree that your analyses of this are the most nuanced. So, like, we're not really on the opposite sides here, but
I don't think they're much of a fan because it starts out with the based in Giga Chat, so I don't know if that's a compliment in these spaces. So we'll just move on from there. I think we've got better questions. Sorry, Positive. Thank you for your donation, your super chat. So much mass for $4.99. If I follow Grace for 5 minutes on the street while yelling at her, is there physical intimidation?
I would say yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, how is that
Yes.
physical intimidation? He's not actually attacking you.
if I
He's
have
following me.
followed
I
Grace
don't
on the
know
street
her.
for 5 minutes yelling at her, I have. It's not physical intimidation.
Wait, hold on. Grace and
Of a
Daddy Grace
stranger
just
did
gave.
it.
Oh, so then there are cases where you can physically intimidate somebody without actually laying your hands on them?
Well, is it literal physical intimidation? No. Is it psychological intimidation with your physically? I mean, it's not physical. You're not blocking me, but I don't know. I don't actually. It's not physical. Literally, you're not putting your hands on me.
Anyone who's acting, any stranger on the street who's acting crazy, obviously, is creating a situation in which people are going to be concerned.
Do you guys think that like when like cowboys and like herders are like pressuring animals to move with their like body space, that they're like psychologically pressuring the animals?
We already answered this. Are we in a loop?
Just checking. Just wanted to see if you would say this.
And they're pressuring them with the threat of violence. Is that correct, Kyla?
Not usually. Usually
No.
it's
So
just
animals aren't
physical
trained
pressure.
through the use of violence. Those
Do
dogs
they?
aren't
Do
threatening
cowboys?
to nip them.
Oh, nip them.
Have you ever heard of breaking a horse?
Yeah. Yes. Usually it's not through violence. Like if you think like putting something on and taking it off.
Yeah,
is
it's
violence,
carrot
I
stick.
guess.
It's carrot stick, but you're saying like do this or suffer the consequences. We're not talking about animals anyways.
Well, we started by talking about physical presence of stuff. Yeah. And it's not typically through threat of violence. It's usually just like being spooked, right? Like you very rarely need to ever like touch a cow or a horse to get it to move. Basically never.
Yeah, I agree that talking with people rationally in a calm tone of voice is the best way to approach problems. However, it's not the only way.
No one's saying it's the only way. It's just the only healthy way.
Yeah, you are. You're saying you
It's the
can't.
only
you
healthy
can't
way.
rise to a certain threat. Okay, so it's the only healthy way.
Yes.
So that's where we disagree.
Clearly.
And the entire corpus of psychology and human history shows that there are times when you have to raise your voice and exhibit aggressive things to prevent evil from occurring.
There will
and you know
never,
that true.
There will never be.
Well, I'd
a
hate to
case-
be in your house if
let's
someone
let-
comes in and
sorry,
threatens
Ben.
your family because you're going to be rational. You're not going to raise your voice and intimidate that person.
Notice
All
how
right,
the
let's let
only
Stephen
time you've
speak
said it's
without
acceptable to raise your voice is in times of like grave, like life-threatening, like when your wife is about to fall off a cliff or if somebody breaks into your house and you're
But you
comparing that
said
to
never.
him.
Let's let Stephen speak.
Yeah. When we say never,
You said never.
When we say never, obviously the context is in resolving conflict
don't
with a
say
partner.
Never. Don't say never.
Okay.
Let's let Stephen speak, please, Ben.
I'm sorry, let me give all the qualifiers, okay? You should never do it when you're trying to resolve a conflict with your wife, when you're both on the planet Earth, when the year is 2023, when the person isn't hard of hearing, so you don't need to raise your voice to communicate with them, when they're sufficiently close to you that speaking quietly, like, do I have to add like a million qualifiers for you to understand what we're talking about? Like, it's pretty obvious what I'm saying. When I say don't raise your voice to your partner, and then you go, well, what if they're about to walk into the street? Do you really think that's what we're talking about right here?
Is it wrong to be angry at somebody? And if not, is it wrong
Holy
to
shit.
show
Whoa.
that anger?
Where's the
Is it
rewind
wrong
thing?
to-
We just got sucked back
Hold
to
on.
some dumb shit that
Here, hold
nobody
on.
Is
said.
it wrong
Stephen,
to show
Stephen,
that
sorry, let's let
anger
Grace speak.
through yelling at somebody? Through yelling at somebody?
Generally,
through showing
yes.
anger?
Yes. You shouldn't
That's
be yelling
wrong.
at partners.
So
yes.
But is it okay to be angry at somebody?
Yes, it is okay to be angry. You shouldn't be shouting at your partner.
Okay, what are the typical ways that we express anger?
There are lots of typical ways we express anger, but you can do it with your words. You can do it with your actions. You can do it by taking space from somebody.
No, anger is an emotion. So how do we emotionally express it? If you're sad, you cry. If you're angry, you...
But there's a million things you could go work
If you're
out.
angry, you what?
You
You
could go
can say,
sprint.
hey, I'm angry with you. That's one way to express it.
You said that's wrong.
I
No, he
did
didn't.
not say that's wrong.
Never said
You-
that's
you
wrong.
Well,
just
that's what
yelled
Steven
that.
Crowder is doing. So another W
That's-
for us.
I'm angry at you. You just said that. That's what he said to her. So that's abuse or not?
All
you just
he
said
did
that's
is
fine.
express frustration.
Yeah, okay, that's all he did. I'm gonna
That's
fuck
all
you
he
up.
did.
It was just a feeling. He was just feeling.
Okay, see now
like
you're
he
saying
might want to fuck her
you're
up.
saying what the context was, and you raised your fist, and you're lying, Kyla. Stop lying about men. You should be in the manosphere, but stop lying about men.
Let's continue on with our super
Men are
chats,
not
'cause
evil, Kyla.
whatever we're talking about right now, I mean, I know what we're talking about right now, but whatever we are talking about, it's all going to come full circle because we've got lots of super chats coming in. And if you want this conversation to continue, keep the super chats coming in and we'll continue to read them and we'll continue on. So, now I have to scroll up. This is never fun. Okay, Vosh fan for $13.99 Canadian. Hey, Canadian. If following someone to continue an argument, this is kind of similar to what we just read. If following someone to continue an argument when they want it to end, is it physical abuse, then every girlfriend, is it physical abuse? Then every girlfriend I've ever had should be put in jail. Stop gaslighting us. You guys are better than this.
So to be clear,
And that's at you,
I never
that's
said it
you,
was
and every day.
physical abuse. I said that he was physically imposing himself. And by the way, I would agree that if you're trying to get away from an argument with a girlfriend and she follows you into the next room, I would agree that that's abusive. Yes, you have a right to draw space between you and your partner when you feel like you are upset or emotionally dysregulated. You absolutely have that. And if somebody tells you don't, or if they're trying to impose themselves physically on you to force you to continue the argument, I would say that's an abusive behavior. Yes.
Ridiculous.
All right, over to you, Erudite. That question was for both of you.
I mean, we basically answered it. Nobody here said abuse. We said physical coercion. And if you are following around, yes, that is bad. I believe that almost nobody would be thrown in jail for following somebody around, even though it's toxic. Just because a behavior is toxic or abusive doesn't mean it's illegal.
Utterly ridiculous.
Well, let's
All abusive
continue
behavior
on.
should be illegal.
Well, let's continue on because we will have lots of open discussion, I think, involving these super chats, and that one was kind of just pertinent, to the last question there. So, Vosh fan again for $13.99 Canadian. Woo, Canadian. All right, imagine hubby refusing to do his agreed chores and telling his concerned wife he'll be back when I'm back, and stranding her by taking their vehicle so she can't visit her friends or family. Lol. Lol. He adds a lol at the end. So I think that's for Destiny and Erudite. So I'm going to hand that to you, Erudite, to start.
I guess person's never heard of taking an Uber or calling a friend, which was like part of the conversation. I think it's been well said. It wasn't precisely about the car. There is questions that we have to know about the context. Like, is there only one vehicle? Is there a reason why Stephen felt that he must have the car and why he couldn't take an Uber or have a friend pick him up? Yeah, I don't know. It's just a silly point.
I don't like being misrepresented here, and I don't appreciate people acting otherwise. I hate women. And if I saw a guy that said that he wanted to leave the house and the woman wouldn't let him take the car, I would say, fuck that woman, okay? I don't have an obligation here towards women or men or hating men or whatever, okay? Fuck women. If a guy wanted to leave the house and someone said, no, you're not allowed to, you can't take the car, I'm not going to let you, I would say, oh, that woman seems like she's being really manipulative and controlling. The same thing I would with Steven Crowder.
All right. Well, let's continue on. Oh my. Yeah, gotta scroll up quite a bit. Ozion talks. Hey Ozion, how you doing tonight? $10. Glad to see you're here. Ben Thorpe. A man doesn't show aggression to women. A woman who is afraid of you and flinches from you does it for a reason, either because of experience or from other men, or that man. So just to summarize, that's for you, Ben. A man doesn't show aggression to women. That's the first point. A woman who is afraid of you and flinches from you does it for a reason, either because of experiences from other men or that man. Thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, interesting question. I do not think that violence is a good solution except in the most extreme circumstances for men with their partners or spouses or with their children. I do think sometimes it's warranted, but it's not a good solution, and people who are into that. Now, I will tell you this, women like it. And you can say what you want, but they like it. They like it more than men like it. And that's an instinct and they like aggressive men, and they even like violence. I've never understood that, but it's there, and it's the bad boy. I'm a good boy, but I'm seen as a bad boy because in this sphere, no one can be it can be a male at all. But I never have understood it, but women love assertive men, and it does go into violence. And I don't agree with
thoughts on that on our other side?
That's just absolutely not true. You see the wordplay being done here with women like aggressive or assertive or confident men. That's not the same as being physically abusive. Women do not like men that hit them.
Right. So who's watching who's buying 50 Shades of Grey, Stephen?
50 Shades of Grey is a movie.
Why was that a huge bestseller?
Because it's a fantasy. Men bought it's a movie and it's a fantasy.
Okay, so where is fantasy located? It's in your mind, right? It's something you desire. Women are not buying that.
Different, okay? I really like the Spider-Man and Batman movies, but I don't jump off of buildings in capes.
Well, it speaks to you in some way. And
it does. You know, same way 50 Shades of Grey might speak to somebody in some way.
Okay,
it's not
so
that
what
I want
does
a
it
man that
speak
beats the shit out of me.
What does it speak to? It speaks to a thirst that women have to be dominated and to be powerless. Yes, it does.
Dominated and powerless in a setting with a man that you respect and are extremely physically attracted to. Not just some loser that's beating not some loser that's beating the shit out of you.
And you have an explicit contract with as well.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. The explicit contract thing is what we all say to make it safe, but it's the non-consensual part of it that's the exciting part of it. I'm not advocating for it, but it is there, and I think it's a counterbalance to women having too much power in our culture, and they don't like it. And I think they want to move out of this.
Like, what do you do about like women's abuse shelters where women are trying to sneak and run away from their abusive partners because they don't know how to get away from these awful men in their lives? Do you think that these women are just like secretly lying and they're like are desperately like horny for it and they're just like hoping he'll come get her?
No,
like,
obviously they go to the abuse shelters to get tips from other women for where to find all the good men.
True.
Well, are you saying that where there are situations of domestic violence, there aren't women who really feel like that's home for them and they enjoy it even though it's dysfunctional?
I like how do you remember the conversation we had earlier about you provide a fundamental psychological need while also like attacking somebody at the same time, and you get like you just like describe the dynamic
I'm not
perfectly.
advocating for it.
You
I'm
describe
just
the
saying.
dynamic perfectly. Yes, there are people that can be psychologically abused to such an extent that they also tolerate physical abuse on top of it, and it can make the highs that much more exhilarating when the lows are that much more horrible. We call those abusive relationships. It's like doing heroin. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Also,
I basically
is it
agree
true
with you.
that there are people who have received literally zero love in their life, so they'll take a partner who gives them like a small amount of love in exchange for lots of abuse because it's better than literally anything that they've ever experienced? Yes, that is true that this exists. It's tragic, it's awful, it's sad, and that doesn't mean that all women want that.
A lot of women would love to be with a man who is capable of extreme violence.
Capable of extreme violence.
And they find that fucking hot.
Capable.
I'm not one of those men, but they love it. They fucking love it. Sorry, guys.
Capable of extreme violence is not the same as deploying extreme violence on your partner.
It's kind of hot that it might get turned on her. I'm not one of those people. I don't own a weapon. I've never.
No, that's
What
true.
do you think they're more likely attracted to? The fact, like, if we're taking this premise, do you think that they're more attracted to the fact that, like, they could fuck things up, that they're physical specimens that are impressive? Or do you think that they're attracted to the fact of, like, who knows, at any moment he might snap and beat my face in? God, I love that. Which do you think it is?
You respect him a little bit more because he could exert that physical control over you.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying, like,
necessarily.
you should talk to women about what to do about this because there is a tremendous thirst for this, and
there's really not. There's just not. That's just not true.
Yeah, so women really want these little mouse men running around and worshiping them. They do not want.
There should be there should be a false dichotomy.
We need a button
where
for
it's
it.
like I don't think you should beat the shit out of women. Oh, so you want everybody to date Stephen Hawking then? Like, what the fuck is this comparison? Holy shit.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not advocating. I'm certainly not advocating for violence. I don't think it's a good solution. I'm a man of peace. I don't understand BDSM, but I'll tell you, it's not men who want to do BDSM that I know of. I find it exhausting, but I've encountered a lot of women who seem like there's no end to how much of that they want to do. And you can do research on it, Kylie, like looking things up on the internet. Look it up. Look up the fantasies. Look up when women are being real. They will say there's a desire for this. And I'm not saying that I have the solution for it, but don't tell me that it's men that enjoy hitting women. I think by and large men just want, to be peaceful. I
Right.
don't think
it's women who enjoy being hit.
there
by
are men. There are men. Yeah. I do think there's some problem here, that there's a lie going on. Yeah, women are more okay with violence than we give them credit for. That's right. I would say that's true.
All right. Well,
Those
I'm
are
gonna step
all
in here.
completely different statements, by the way. None of those things are even like analogous or similar. But sure, go off.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna step in here and we're gonna keep the super chats going.
deny
Keep them
reality.
coming in. We're all for it. We're having a great discussion here as far as bouncing these ideas back and forth. So keep those super chats coming in, and we'll keep having this discussion go.
Just
until somebody needs to use the washroom or do.
I was just going to ask a question. I've noticed a number of super chats coming in that seem to be assuming that Ben is telling the truth about like me and my platform, and I realize that the MDD fan base has probably never actually met me before. I think that I've talked to James a couple of times, but I actually haven't been on MDD. Just so it's clear, Ben is abjectly lying about my content. In fact, probably the biggest criticism I get on the internet is that people sometimes feel like I'm a pick-me because I talk so often about men's issues, right? Like that's like basically my bread and butter. That doesn't mean that I
tell me
don't
what
care
I-
about
what lie
women's
did I
issues.
say?
I'm not finished talking. You lied about the fact that I
yes,
hate
mother.
men. You lied about the fact that I hate masculinity, and none of these things are true. And I just want to make it clear so I realize the MDD platform doesn't actually know me, and that's
Did you accuse me of
patently false.
sexual harassment? because I asked
Absolutely.
For a sexual when we were talking about sexual preferences.
So it
And I
wasn't
asked you
just
what
that
your
question.
preference was.
I accused you of sexually harassing Nina because every single time she spoke, you kept talking to her, you kept asking her sexual questions. She kept telling you, "Please
What's a
stop
sexual
asking
question?
me
We were
sexual
talking about
questions."
sex.
There was tons of sexual questions. You talking about the idea of sex doesn't mean it's an invitation to ask Nina specifically about her sexual preferences and making pickup lines and alluding towards her your interest in her. And so you constantly kept
Oh,
saying
give me
these
a
things.
break,
There was a guy who came on the panel and asked both of us immediately if we squirted, and you.
Oh, and
asked
I'm
me,
responsible for him.
No. And you came on later and said that we like hard dicks inside us. Yes, absolutely. I, said they were sexually harassing.
Let's say that you're lying. You're lying.
You're the
You're
fucking
lying.
liar, Kyla.
let's try to
See,
have
this
that
is more of this
conversation.
anti-masculinity. She gets to do a whole litany of accusations to me, but I
Yeah,
can't.
come
do
on,
that
that's not
myself.
fair.
Yeah,
let's-
so now I know
let's-
what Steven Crowder feels like. Steven, let's talk. Let's talk.
Let's continue on. But firstly, let's take care of ourselves personally. If anybody needs a drink of water, if anybody needs to use the washroom, now is the time. And whoever doesn't go, I will ask the question to. You're all staying? All right, cool. Let's continue on. I just want to make sure that I'm being considerate of that because I know we're going a little longer than we initially planned. So if you need a little refreshment or anything like that, feel free. So let's continue on, everybody. Oh my. Yes, we got to scroll up quite a bit. Thank you all for your super chats here. I'm going to have to get rid of a few of them here so I stop going through the same ones. All right. So sorry. Just give me 1 second. All right. So, Vosh fan once again for $13.99. You got a specific currency you like to spend that in, Canadian and $13.99. She clearly played it up for the camera, saying abuse repeatedly to save the footage for the divorce battle. Amber Heard 2.0. Grace's points are the same good points Destiny made the first few days.
I would say just by in that interaction, I would say that he's obviously. I would say she's throwing him off, and he's getting more and more frustrated because he's saying like, her responses are unnatural. So I guess I would say like, yeah, I do think in some ways she was playing to the camera.
Her responses were not unnatural. It sounded like they were retreading a fight that they had many times before, probably that they'd explicitly discussed in therapy.
All right, she said she needs space, right? And then she goes, you're abusive, right? If you don't want to get into something with somebody, you don't go around calling them abusive and then say, well, I gotta go. Either you engage or you don't. She's accusing him of something that's a serious thing to accuse your partner of, and then she says, I'm leaving, this is your abuse. It's like calling somebody crazy. If you say, you know what, you're acting really crazy, there's kind of nothing you can do to defend yourself, because if you are acting crazy, you wouldn't know it.
The reality of the situation is, and this is undeniable, if one or both parties are emotionally dysregulated, then you have to take space. You are never, ever, ever healthily solving a problem between two people when there is a
That's
high degree.
crazy.
That's reality. That is one of the few pieces of advice
What is
that
emotional? What is emotional? What did you say? Dysregulation? What is
Sure.
that? So expressing emotions. If either of you express emotions, you need to take a break from each other. What are you, fucking
Sure.
robots?
So if
what
you're
are you
in
talking
it,
about?
let's say that you're in a situation where you're really, really, really hungry, okay? It's like the Snickers commercials, okay? You're not you when you're hungry. Sometimes being hungry can inhibit your cognitive thought process and you get irrationally upset at everything that happens. When
Yeah,
two
but you said
people are-
emotional dysregulation.
Yes.
So any
Being
emotional
hangry,
dysregulation.
Being hangry is a type of emotional dysregulation. If you are fighting with a partner and you guys are coming to the level where you're screaming at each other, where you're insulting each other, or where you're acting snarky, then your adult brain is taking a back seat to your baby brain that just wants to come out and fight, and your ability to problem solve is gone.
Well, wait. Would you say the same about emotions? So if your partner is feeling really sad and is crying and is torn up about something, should you take a break because there's emotional dysregulation?
Absolutely. If my partner is crying
You
or
should not
upset-
support them and
Hold-
have them
no,
share
no,
that
no,
emotion.
No, hold on. Support and sharing an emotion is not trying to solve a problem. If somebody is incredibly upset and they're crying, then the conversation might be like, hey, it seems like you're really upset right now. Let's take a walk and talk about this. Or let's
No, but you
take a
said
break and talk about
separate.
this.
You said take a break.
No,
You
no,
said take
hold on.
space. Any emotional dysregulation, you need to take space from each other. That's what you said.
I need you to turn off the debate brain for 1 second and just listen to what I'm saying, okay? When
You
two
are a debate
let's,
brain.
Let's let Stephen wrap up his point there, and then we'll let you respond.
When two people or one or two people are emotionally dysregulated, the ability to solve the problem is gone. Now, what you do at that point, if it's a conflict, then you probably need to create space. But now the example you gave, if somebody's crying and needs support, then that might look like, well, we're emotionally dysregulated. We're not going to problem solve right now. I'll just support you. That would be maybe something you could do to help a partner that's emotionally dysregulated. But the crying situation is not where the conflict between the two people. It sounds like one person has a problem with something else and they just need support from their partner. But again, it would be the same thing that would apply. If they're crying, you're probably not gonna be like, okay, I understand you're really upset right now, but let's figure out what we're gonna do to solve this problem. It's probably like, okay, hey, let's try to bring your emotions back in line, go for a walk, take a shower, watch a movie, whatever. And then when the emotions come back down, then you go back into problem solving mode.
So can I just say something? Stephen, you said if you're really hungry, you need a Snickers bar, that you can't think straight. This is the problem with the younger generations. You have to be able to be mature enough that when you're feeling emotions to handle them. And if you're hungry, you don't need to take a break from life. Maybe sometimes you just need to power through instead of immediately satisfying all of your needs.
That is the most
you think
toxic.
that might be...
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, that is the worst advice. You would never give it to anybody in any situation ever. You do not try to power through your emotions. That is the answer given by somebody that doesn't realize how much their emotions control them. Anybody that ever gives that answer has no idea how irrational they can be when they're in an emotional state of mind. If you're emotional, what you do is you bring your emotions back in line and then you problem solve. Full stop.
No.
That's the advice you give to a manager, a business owner,
This
a
is
father,
why your
a
relationship
husband.
is so crazy in your life.
That's great.
And that you're not going to be successful in relationships in life unless
do you mean?
outgrow this immature, I need to take a break every time you get hungry and you feel like you need a Snickers, you need to go take a break and emotionally regulate. Give me a fucking break, Stephen.
Talking
It's called
about
life.
anti-fragility has almost nothing to do with dysregulation, nor is anywhere Stephen saying that people should just be anti-fragile in the moment that they have their fifis broken, that they should just immediately fall down on the curb and cry.
He just said that.
Obviously. No, he literally didn't. Obviously. He used a Snickers ad, first of all. Bro. Context clues. What we're talking about here is emotional regulation. The idea that you should just power through and ignore your feelings is characterized as a form of dysregulation. What a healthy form of regulation is, say you're feeling upset in a situation, is you go, I notice that I'm feeling upset. And then you figure out whether or not that upsetness is something that you can tolerate. And if it is not, absolutely, you should take a break, 100%, because there's nothing worse than in a conversation that's vital, like a major fight with your spouse, that you should go, wow, I'm really dysregulated and angry. I don't know if I can keep cap on my emotions and not react as a response.
Why
to
do you have to keep a cap on your emotions? Why can you not express emotions to your partner?
Because
if
you're
angry, if you're sad, if you're happy, whatever.
Yeah.
Why are emotions negative to express?
So emotions aren't negative to express, but your partner is not a punching bag for your emotional dysregulation. That's why you keep
What
a
if
cap
they've
on certain
caused
things.
the emotional dysregulation?
It doesn't matter. It
Shouldn't
doesn't
they-
matter at all, right? If I'm
So you are
super
responsible
enraged-
for keeping yourself emotionally neutral and
You are responsible
placid
for
at
you.
all times?
Yes, you are responsible. No,
That's the
no one
ideal
has ever said that.
situation?
No, you're just you're doing the dichotomy game. I need to find a word. We need to actually have a buzzword for this, so we can
Well, you
just
said
go
put a cap on it.
Boo, yeah, putting a cap on it doesn't mean become neutral and feel nothing and have like false forms of stoicism. What it means is things like, wow, I notice that I'm feeling angry. Am I so angry that I can't handle this anymore? And if the answer is yes, you should leave. That would be the responsible thing to do. If the answer is I'm angry, but I think that I'm able to talk through my anger and not take it out on my partner, then that's fine, right?
But you say taking it out, but isn't being angry expressing anger? You say taking it out, but if somebody makes you angry because they did something wrong, is that taking out your anger on that person, or is that expressing an emotion that they caused within you and it's perfectly healthy?
So even if somebody made me angry and then I turn around and I start calling them names and telling them that I don't love you and then I'm going to fuck them up, yes, even though they made me angry, it doesn't change the fact that I'm responsible for my actions and my behavior, and it's still inappropriate of me, even if they made me angry.
What if you turn around and yell at them because you're angry? And you express your anger like every normal person does. Is that wrong?
Yelling at the problem is whether or not it's what is our here's the question. What is your goal with expressing the anger in a relationship? What do you think the goal should be?
Anger means somebody has done you something wrong. Somebody has done you wrong.
I'm gonna repeat it. I don't think you heard what I said. Let me repeat it one more time. What is the goal of expressing your anger?
Okay, to show that person that they have caused you this emotion because they did you wrong. That's the goal.
And what do you want to do with that? Why do you want to show them that?
Because they did you wrong. So then you're angry because they did you wrong.
So they can either explain themselves or apologize. What are we just born 2 minutes ago? Kyla, the men who landed on Omaha Beach, if they followed your advice, they would step back and all talk to each other and analyze it. There are
do you know where advice comes from?
Wait, hold on, real quick before we do it.
No, let me talk.
Well, I didn't get to respond to Grace. I was in a back and forth with her. Now you just fucking hijack this just to make some autistic point about 18-year-olds that went and killed themselves in fucking World War II. Okay.
Let's just watch how we're talking about our other speakers here tonight. But we will hand it over to Stephen.
Sure. So real quick. So here's something that I noticed was suspiciously absent from when I asked you, what is the goal of showing anger? You said your goal is expressing it because they did something that made you mad and you want them to explain themselves or apologize. That is not the goal of expressing an emotion in a relationship. The goal should always be to problem solve. If your goal is anything else, then your emotions are misaligned with what you should be doing to maintain the relationship. If your goal is just make somebody apologize or make them understand how mad you are, you're not trying to problem solve and you're not trying to make a healthy, better relationship. You're just trying to attack somebody.
I can work with that. It is problem solving. If somebody does something wrong to you and you express anger, they can react to it and solve that problem by either apologizing or saying, no, I didn't do you
wrong.
wrong.
They're not going to do that, though. They're just going to get mad back at you.
It's part of human interaction. I don't know what you're talking about.
Why do you say it's part of this is literally human interaction 101. I know this as a fucking debater. If I'm arguing with somebody and their emotion is regularly upset, we're not going to be able to problem solve, just like we're not right now.
Steven, you know what? We are at an impasse. We are at an impasse. We are at an impasse.
Let Grace speak. Sorry, what did you say, Grace?
They're just kidding. They're just kidding.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, let's. I was gonna say, well, when everybody's talking, I mean, there's going to be a certain amount of delay to the live stream. I've got a really good computer here. Erida, you got your hand up there. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. I think a really big thing that's missing, like when I listen to you, Grace, is that like when you think anger, you think you think anger means must be yelling. But the answer is feelings don't dictate how you need to react to them. That is what emotional regulation is, where you go, dang, I noticed that I'm feeling angry. Like I had a fight with somebody just recently, and I noticed I was really, really angry after the fight. So rather than calling them back up and screaming and calling them names, because at the end of the day, my goal in my relationships is to have healthy, positive relationships. That's what my goal is, and part of that means solving problems, and part of that means being heard, right? Me calling them and screaming at them and saying nasty things to them isn't going to make them heard, and it isn't going to make my relationship better. So instead, I went for a run and I yelled into the air and I did all that I needed to do to externalize my emotions. But that doesn't mean that just because I'm angry that I now need to verbalize that directly at somebody else.
I agree with you.
I think, let me take this one.
Okay.
I would just like to propose, I don't know your background, and I'm not interested in critiquing your life. I'm sorry if I lean too far in that. But there are a lot of people who have experienced trauma who come up with a solution like yours that I think isn't about relationships. It's about control. You never want to be out of control. I'm not saying you necessarily, but especially there are females who have experienced a lot of trauma, males too, who just want to have control. So they never get out of control because it made them feel vulnerable. I'm sorry, it's called life, it's called relationships. And a life where you have total control that it seems like you're trying to yourself go for and advocate for others is a life that is not worthy of the name of life. The drama, yes, it can get out of control. Yes, it could be too much. Yes, it could be inappropriate. It can cause harm. But it's also, emotions are what makes life worth living. It's the color, it's the fragrance, it's the joy. Like, you're not going to have any joys if you have this kind of, and I get it, you want to analyze everything so you'll never be in those places again. I'm just conjecturing. A lot of people do that. It is a mistake. Yes, reflect, but don't turn into a robot who can't hurt again. You might get hurt again.
I'm not
All of you out there watching, you might get hurt. You might get hurt in relationships. I've been hurt, but you can't turn it off and gain control. It's not going to work.
Emotions play a role in physical combat, and they play a role in things like solving problems in a relationship. And I agree, for example, all men should probably have a mature theory of violence. Men need to know how their anger causes them to want to do violence, how they need to respond to that, how to respond to different situations that might cause violence, and how they should de-escalate or possibly escalate in different situations where violence may be required. That is a dialing of their own emotional system to help them guide through what is the correct decision. That's not a negation of their anger or their frustration or their fear. It's using these emotions to make informed decisions. Just like in problem solving, you can use emotions, for example, like Chris said, anger tells you that you might be feeling disrespected. The problem is sometimes you're angry, not for a good reason. Sometimes somebody makes you mad and it's your stuff. There's no reason for you to be mad, right?
Absolutely.
The reason why in the cases of interpersonal dynamics between men and women, men have to be more careful about losing control because they're more likely to do physical harm, and society is afraid when strong men lash out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but you know why they lash out, Kyla? A lot of times it's because they don't deal with their emotions and they don't express them, and it gets bottled up.
You're
and then
right.
It explodes.
You're right.
Men need to have.
They just power through. You're right. They do that, and that's really toxic for them.
You're twisting what I'm saying. I didn't say just power through and don't have emotions. I'm saying
No, she's
sometimes
saying
if
that's
you want a
toxic.
fucking Snickers bar like Steven here wanted, that sometimes if you have other obligations, that those you don't need to make sure. I see when I see young people today, they're constantly hydrating themselves. Leave the goddamn water bottle alone and do what you're doing. And you don't have to play video games while you're talking with another human being. Sorry, Steven. Just focus.
The whole
And if I didn't, she'd call me an autistic.
Everything related to this conversation is so insane, because if you were to talk to anybody with a healthy relationship, any therapist, literally any woman, any person ever, they will tell you that in a relationship, the best types of people to be with are people that can communicate emotions without demeaning a partner, attacking a partner, screaming at a partner. These are the best people to have relationships with. They're the best problem solvers. Not only, actually, fuck relationships. Relationships are gay. We don't have to talk about relationships. This is true of leaders as well. This is true of managers in a business environment. This is true of CEOs of company. You read How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's not chapter 14, how to call your boss a raging fucking piece of shit and show everybody how mean you are. There's no book on leadership or commanding people will ever be like that. So
You're
for
wrong
you to
about that.
Okay, well, you won't find, that's not the habits of effective leaders. Nobody leads like that.
If that's the only thing in their book. You just said Steve Jobs, one of the most successful corporate executives ever in history. Okay, and I probably think he was an asshole, but he was a great, he was a great innovator, right, Steven?
He had a good product with the iPhone.
Well, he wasn't a failure of a human being.
Okay, that doesn't mean that you model your interpersonal relationships after him.
Hold on, wasn't Steve Jobs alienated from his family and his daughter and everything in death?
Well, okay.
So why is he the guy that we're modeling our relationships after?
I understand that a lot of driven men can alienate people and be too driven and lack a kind of understanding of the softer side of life. Okay, but if a woman marries a man like that, she's gonna she gets the benefits, but she's also got to deal with them.
Okay,
and
then
a lot of women find
that. Then the man has to deal with the downsides of her maybe leaving and then getting alimony and child support. That's part of your role as a man, then, I guess. If that's what we're gonna say how men run their relationships, and that's gonna be how they run their divorces.
Well, I don't see Steven Crowder doing any of that stuff. I think he's, totally engaged in a normal way, and Kyla can portray it as him being a baby, but that's just emasculating another man for no reason.
I think you need to put a cap on your emotions and stop yelling at me, because this feels really abusive right now.
If you were telling me that in sincerity, do you know what I would do? I would say, okay, I'll stop yelling.
Actually,
why are
in
you
fact,
yelling in the first place? Why are you abusing me in the first place?
Didn't I literally send you a DM this morning saying, like, I'm sorry if I came off too harsh or whatever, like, I won't be poking or prodding you on that stuff anymore? Didn't I actually literally send you that message this morning? So I do do this. Like,
no, you are a very, I'm not saying you're not a nice guy. You're a very nice guy. No, but what I'm saying is by your own logic, I'm saying you're wrong. It's fine for you to yell, but you're saying it's wrong for you to yell.
we have a different type of relationship. We're random people screaming at each other on the internet. If you were my daughter, or not to poke at your relationship, but like if you're my daughter, or if you're like my wife, or if you were like a parent, I wouldn't be talking to you the same way. There's gonna be a different context for those conversations.
Yeah. Stephen, when I can say I witnessed you walking, who's that woman? Not Kidology. You walked her through setting up her OBS on her computer. You were incredibly patient, and yet, you know, it's sort of a masculine thing, so you're saying, go here, go here. I had no critique whatsoever. I thought you were just like amazingly generous towards her. In that circumstance, you weren't yelling at her, you were guiding her through it, you understood that she had some limitations. And it's not because she was female, it's just because, you know, whatever, she was a novice. I think that's true of both of you, from what I've seen.
What are you,
but I think in this area of relationships,
what are you guys doing? Like, why are you both just like telling us that we're like nice people and stuff like that? Like all of this, like I don't know.
Because you're wrong about the other stuff.
Yeah, it feels a little slimy and manipulative. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm
why
not
don't you accuse me of sexual
I like being
harassment,
manipulated.
Kyla?
Keep glazing.
How about if I say you look
Okay.
good, Kyla?
You can
Is that
slide into
sexual
Destiny's
abuse?
DMs with the manipulation.
Let's avoid the prior discussion because, as we've already discussed, that's not what we're here to talk about. So we'll continue on with our super chats. All right. Let's scroll on up because I appreciate everybody in the live chat for coming out and putting the super chats in because we have quite a few of them to go through. So we do have a lot of conversation that's going to keep happening. And I see you there. You're putting more in there. Stop it. We'll be here all night. Okay, keep going. All right. So I have a personal question here, Destiny. We can just skip it. It's from Bosch fan. It's related to your relationship. They're asking questions, so we can just skip that if you want.
Well, I mean, like, is it a question of like, how do I live with myself getting cucked on a daily basis, or is it a question that's like relevant to the conversation? I'm curious.
Yeah, I want to know about your cucking status.
Maybe it's kind of related to. All right, I'm gonna read it then. All right, Vosh fan, $6.99 Canadian. Destiny has never raised his voice at Melina during an argument, and Melina has never continued an argument which Destiny wanted to stop. Right.
Well, I don't understand what the implication is. There are mistakes that I've made in my relationship, and there are things that I do that are probably abusive. That's absolutely true. There are also times where I've lied to people. I used to steal from McDonald's when I worked for them, from the cash register. I've made mistakes in my life. I'm not going to sit here and say because I've made a mistake that we ought to do it. There are things that I recognize as mistakes. If you were to ask me the next question, what are things you're trying to improve in your relationship? I would say I try to communicate better. I try to resolve problems quicker. And I'm sure the same would go for Melina. She tries to give me some space when she's pushing to resolve a dispute. And we try to like communicate in a healthier way with each other. Like these are things that we're constantly working on. We're not trying to be more aggressive towards each other or more conflict oriented towards each other. Like just because I make mistakes or my wife might make mistakes doesn't mean I'm saying that those mistakes are good. They're recognized as mistakes.
I mean, yeah, this is like max chattered energy where it's just like, oh, if you're giving the ideal situation of how relationships go, that means you've never done anything wrong ever in your entire relationship, right?
Yeah, or like imagine you're playing League of Legends and I'm like, you should try to get 10 CS a minute. It's like, why would you say that when last game you only had 100 CS at 20 minutes and you died 7 times? Like, oh, never mind. I guess that's what you're supposed to do? I don't understand that. Yeah.
I don't know your nerd language.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right. Well, we can continue on. Let's see here. Now, if you didn't see off to the side here, I can see that there's 1,000 people watching tonight, and there's only 250 likes. So I don't know if you've got arthritic wrists or what's going on there. That's my usual go-to dad joke. But like, you know, maybe you got some like real problems with your thumbs, but it's right below this video. You hit the like button and it does help, but not as much as sharing out the video. And once again, thank you to everybody here for showing up. And it looks like Erudite's given herself a mustache there with her own hair. Very stylish. Excellent. That's the look right there. So let's continue on with our super chats, and I will say anyone that's sending in a super chat that is personal, I am going to check with each debater before we talk about it. I know we are talking about relationships and behavior and stuff like that. I use that term because we are going to read a super chat that is involving that. So once again, try to keep the super chats, light and loose and not attacks against our speakers.
You're welcome to give us any attacks, at least me.
Well, I'll read them, but to a certain degree.
Up to
so
you.
Same cloth, $5. What's the relationship you've seen / had with your parents, Grace and Ben? I'm seeing you leaving space for narcissistic behavior. So we'll start with you, Ben. If you want to talk about your relationship with your parents, that's up to you.
No. I think the question is saying, what is your relationship with Grace, with your parents, comma, right? No,
I think it's to me. What is
I was
your
gonna say
relationship?
it just says Grace and Ben, so I think they're asking each of you.
Oh.
So it's up to you. It's a personal question. You can choose not to answer. I think they're asking Ben, what's your relationship with your parents, and Grace. No. So if you don't want to answer that,
I'll answer. I used
okay.
to have a very contentious. My parents were divorced, and I used to have a contentious relationship with both of my parents, but especially with my father. And I do advocate for men to reconcile with their fathers. Doesn't mean they have to be right. It's a Jesse Lee Peterson point, but he is absolutely right. You've got to find your peace with your father and your father in heaven, and you will find all of the problems in life can be resolved. Absolutely necessary. But we still have contention. He's in the middle of trying to sue me.
Jesus.
All right. Well, any other comments on that before we get into more trouble?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that question. I've seen my parents. I mean, yes, I would say my dad is firm with my mom, and my mom got overwhelmed, and she, I mean, it's personal, but she left my family about 6 weeks ago and hasn't come back. So she did the same kind of thing, running out and leaving her responsibilities behind. But just because something's similar doesn't mean it's projection. But yes, there are similarities for me.
All right, well, let's continue on. And I got to scroll up again on my notepad because who doesn't pay for Microsoft Word and has two thumbs? This guy. That's right. I really should. All right, so moving on. Ben Thorpe, a man doesn't show aggression to oh no, I think I've read that, haven't I?
Yeah, I think we did that.
Yeah, I scrolled up too far. This happens every once in a while. I said I'd get rid of these, like I delete them, but then I didn't. Yeah, let me scroll way down. Perfect. Dr. Akko, $5. There are obviously good and bad expressions of anger. Weightlifting is a good expression of anger. Beating up home. All right, that got me. I'm so sorry. All right, so sorry, Dr. Akko, you got super chat of the night. It's only $5.
Beating a what? Wait, I didn't hear the joke. What was the joke?
He didn't say it.
Gotta read it.
He's building up to it.
I'm building up to it. I'm so sorry. I lost it before I said it. There are obviously good and bad expressions of anger. Weightlifting is a good expression of anger. Beating up homeless people is bad. Simple.
Okay, that's fair.
True. That is based
Well,
in true.
I didn't
we all
expect
can
to read
agree on that.
Well, way to state that. All right, now let's just let me just wipe the tears in my eyes. All right. Stay curious, $5. It's easy to tell that the mod doesn't care to control the convo when he said there will be Q&A 30 minutes ago and the debate is still happening. Wow.
Oh.
I mean,
ouch.
We wanted to keep going, you know?
They're coming after your personal relationships next.
You did get called out.
That's fine. I'm not too worried about
Ryan?
it. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a nice guy, but I you know, I think things have rolled along pretty good, and you know,
I think you've done a great job.
Well, thank you. I was gonna say I appreciate that, and you know, as long as the conversation wants to keep rolling and everybody's engaged, we got 1,000 people watching right now, so I mean, you know. I'm not doing too bad over in my corner here. I'm having a good time hanging out and talking with James and whatnot. What are you doing in the live chat? That's right. Coming at you now. All right. $1.99 from DCA. Is Ben divorced? Oh my goodness. Sorry. This is a personal question.
That's okay.
Question. Ben,
Yeah.
I should have alerted you. I deleted all
No
the
problem.
other ones and I forgot to screen this before I started reading. So we can read it if you'd like.
No, yeah, and
is,
go ahead.
Is Ben divorced? His daughter and wife didn't say much.
His daughter and wife?
I'm not sure about that second part, but if you want to just talk about the first part.
Yeah, so I actually went through a similar circumstance where there was, you know, a kind of failure I would say on my spouse's part, because of prior psychological problems. And I did talk with Destiny about this a little bit, because he comes from a Catholic background, but everyone's pretty much familiar with. There's another possibility other than divorce or like staying in a that's falling apart, which I think was Crowder's kind of point, and that is that you could explore whether at the time you took the vows that maybe there was something missing that you didn't think was missing at the time. And I think it's a much healthier option, because then no one has to be blamed, and it's seen as a backdoor divorce, but that is not what it is. My guess is that's what happened here in the Crowder situation, and I think it can be a wonderful solution, and a real solution that avoids the guilt and blame that you see worked out here. But both parties have to want to do it that way. I don't doubt that Hillary Crowder went into this marriage fully, wanting to do. She didn't go into it to do this to him, but I think she lost. Something was missing, is my guess.
Do you think that it was like more of like a team effort?
What was?
Their marriage dissolving.
It could be on both sides, but something as fundamental. Yeah, maybe they both weren't ready. And I know that they were both married as virgins, or so they claim to be virgins, and there's a problem. Though I think that in many ways is good, right? You can understand it. It's like, you two are bonding in a certain way. I think a lot of people go into that and they don't have enough support of a support network, of a way of working out things, and it can become kind of a torture chamber. Even a wealthy person, and it kind of especially a wealthy right-wing person, they can't let the cracks show. They can't say like, I'm having problems. There has to be this facade. And I think a lot of times, it just becomes hell. He said, I have a boot on my neck, and I think they probably both did in some ways have a boot on their neck of just being so I don't think marriage is supposed to be a torture chamber. If there's something seriously wrong, but people have to be honest. And I think it could be that they're both dishonest. It could be that one, right, Kyla? It could be that one person's being dishonest and saying, it's your fault.
True.
All right, let's continue on with our super chats, and you leave me alone in that super chat over there. I'll do what I want. I'm Nova Scotian. We're badass. All right, this one's towards you, Kyla. It's kind of like a personal comment as well. Do you want me to read it?
Go for it.
It's a compliment. It says Kyla's blush looks so good. That is all.
Taste.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I was gonna say, always nice compliments. Ride for $10. Do Destiny and Kyla believe that the victim is abusive? Sorry. Do Destiny and Kyla believe that a victim is abusive when they fight back against their abuser? This video clearly showed Steven Crowder defending himself against his wife's abuse.
I think anyone. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you can be mutually abusive. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have enough information here to say that's clearly what was going on, but it's possible to be.
Yeah, I think people need to be really careful about saying anything was really clear in that video. There's like some things that look pretty obvious of like being unhealthy, and then there's a lot of things that are going to be ambiguous. I don't know if it's clear to me that Steven was just like the victim of abuse from Hillary.
All right, let's continue on because we got a lot of super chats still to read through. So Marie Woods, $2. Why is Ben? That's also a personal thing, but why he's asking why is Ben so fragile? So they feel like you've been fragile during the debate, Ben.
I don't know what they're referring to.
All right, we'll just continue on from there. I think they were trying to rile us back up again.
Well, if I can just say one thing about that, and I got in a discussion with Kyla, and this wasn't like anything that's contentious, but I think that sometimes men who express emotions, and clearly within this, like I think we all take it with a grain of salt, are seen as weak or fragile or womanish or these kinds of things. I think that's crazy. And I think that men who are emotionally expressive are healthy people. There are men who are less or more, keyed up emotionally. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it being expressive emotionally, unless, it's sort of immature, like you're acting like a child.
Or abusive. Yeah, true.
All right, well, let's continue on. Marriage causes divorce for €5. Stephen has lost his money, house, and kids in divorce. Hillary was asked to use an Uber. Who has really been used and abused?
I don't know if any of us have any information about divorce proceedings and how they're being finalized yet. That's still something that's being actively litigated, is my understanding.
Yeah, my understanding is in the article, at least, they talk about how she's been living in a townhouse separate from the main house. So if anything,
No, that was Stephen.
Okay, but that's fair. Regardless, it's not clear who's getting what possessions.
It would probably be half.
We have no idea. I don't know what pre-existing paperwork there was. I don't know what assets she brought into the marriage. I don't know how well off her family is. I don't know if she's been earning money or not. We have no idea. Right.
Prenups, yeah. What'll be the marital possessions?
Well, you can guess, but
well, let's continue on there. Scrolling up here. So, a Vash Stampede for $5. Challenge question to Thorpe's. Grace Thorpe. Can a person express anger calmly? We'll start with that, and we'll let you answer that, and then we'll complete the second part. So, to you, Grace, can a person express anger calmly? And if you could elaborate on that for our super chatter there.
I think you can express anger calmly, but you can also express it in a way where you're yelling and you're animated and you're invested. And I think the contentious thing is like that Destiny and Erudite are saying that's wrong, but showing it in a modern way is right. And I'm saying, well, there's different ways to show it. Both are equally acceptable, and in different contexts would make sense.
Okay. So the second part of that was to you, Ben. So, Ben, how is Kyla lying? Provide proof, please, of your claims. If you want to remind the live chat when that accusation was made and why, we'll try to keep that quick. So, do you remember?
She lied a few times, or twisted things a few times, but
wait, did
I don't
lie
remember
or
what
twist
they
things?
Well, that's an interesting point because I've had this. A lie can be a misrepresentation of something that is true, right? Like in the Garden of Eden, the devil says, "Surely you will not die if you eat of the fruit." Was he lying? Not technically, because they didn't die. But the most dangerous kind of lie, the worst kind of lie, is one which actually technically isn't just a total lie. Right? Even things like stereotypes, genocides are based on some kernel of truth about the group that you're talking about. And it's an exaggeration rather than an outright lie. Like you can't think of, I don't know if you can think of a stereotype where it's just an outright fabrication. justification. It's going to be based on something. And then that's what's very dangerous, though.
Nur in Bezug auf Pamelas symmetrisches und wunderschönes Gesicht, das sie in der Genlotterie gewonnen hat. Und dass ihr sicher auch geholfen hat, Erfolg zu haben in einer Branche, in der es hauptsächlich um das Aussehen geht. Außerdem, und auch das erwähnt Pamela in dem Interview nicht.
Ja, safe. Da würde ich auf jeden Fall zustimmen. Also ich finde auch, also es hat sich auch jemand in den Kommentaren irgendwie beschwert, der irgendwie geschrieben hat, so ja, hier, ich arbeite irgendwie 20 Stunden am Tag, irgendwie als Intensivpfleger, bla bla bla. Also ich finde, man kann halt auf verschiedenen Arten halt auch hart arbeiten, ne? Und ich meine, klar, wenn du jetzt viel Zeit halt zum Beispiel da reinsteckst, okay, du willst dich halt selbstständig machen, dir ein eigenes Business aufbauen, das ist ja irgendwie nochmal eine andere Arbeit. Ich glaube auch, dass sie hart dafür gearbeitet hat, habe ich auch, um halt YouTuber zu werden, so, ne? Ich habe auch was für Stunden in Videos gesteckt oder so, die dann glücklicherweise viral gegangen sind. Aber ich würde nicht sagen, dass du halt in der Branche, zum Beispiel in der Influencer-Branche, nur erfolgreich wirst, weil du halt Arbeit reinsteckst, so, ne? Also ich denke, Glück gehört da wirklich zu jedem einfach dazu. Ne? Auch bei mir ist es das Gleiche, auch wenn ich irgendwie mit Leuten rede und die mich irgendwie fragen, so, ja, wie hast du das geschafft, sage ich auch so, ja, einfach zur richtigen Zeit die richtigen Videos gemacht. Ne? Also ich hatte auch 2, 3 Videos, die einfach abgegangen sind, genau in der Zeit, als ich es halt quasi dann gebraucht habe, und dann bin ich halt erfolgreich geworden und dann einfach immer weiter durchgezogen. Aber sich halt dann, ja, so hinzustellen, sich so zu verkaufen, wie, ja, ich bin einfach so ein Arbeitstier und ich bin einfach krass, finde ich halt mies unsympathisch, um ehrlich zu sein. Ne? Weil, wie gesagt, Glück gehört immer dazu und safe auch das Aussehen wird ein riesen Einfluss darauf haben, dass sie in der Influencer-Szene oder beziehungsweise in dieser Fitness-Szene so ankommt, 100%.
Ist ihr Erfolg.
So, ich meine, man kann ja wirklich sagen, was man möchte, aber also jeder hat natürlich seinen eigenen Geschmack, aber ich finde, die sieht wirklich hübsch aus, Bruder. Wenn ich jetzt einen Knopf hätte, es würden 10 Millionen random Menschen sterben, dafür würde ich Pamela Reif heiraten, glücklich heiraten, Bruder, ich würde den Knopf 10-mal drücken.
Meiner Meinung nach nicht nur auf harte Arbeit, sondern auf cleveres bis hin zu dreistes Marketing zurückzuführen. Siehe Affenskandal, aber auch andere Dinge. Und darüber möchte ich jetzt mit euch mal genauer sprechen. Kommen wir erstmal zu Pamelas Produkten, bevor wir zu ihren Workouts kommen. Denn ich glaube, hier wird auch für Laien einfacher deutlich, wie stark das Marketing ihrer Brand eigentlich ist. Und dann versteht ihr später vielleicht auch eher, wie das bei den Workouts funktioniert. Plastik mal anders. Pamela ist große Vorreiterin, was den Vertrieb von vermeintlicher Fitnessnahrung angeht. Egal ob Proteinriegel, Müsli oder Schokolade. Ihre Eigenmarke Naturally Pam. Kurzer Einschub, der Begriff Naturally ist übrigens nicht geschützt und garantiert erstmal gar nichts. Verkörpert laut ihren Aussagen all das, was für sie persönlich selbstverständlich ist. Ich zitiere: Keine künstlichen Aromen, keine Konservierungsstoffe, keine Farbstoffe und kein Rohrzucker. Dazu kommen wir später nochmal. Des Weiteren natürliche Biozutaten, verpackt in möglichst...
Viele Fitnesstrainer hatten auch schon mal ein Trainingsvideo von Pamela kritisiert, da ein Großteil fast gar nichts bringt, weil die Übungen viel zu wenig Reize setzen. Ja, safe. Also, ich habe da auch mal mit irgendeinem Fitnesstyp drüber geredet. Irgendwie, ich weiß gar nicht, wie das passiert ist, um ehrlich zu sein. Wir haben einfach drüber gequatscht. Ja, das Ding ist, also, ich glaube, Gina hatte auch mal eine Zeit lang so Pamela Reif Workouts abends gemacht halt, ne? Ja, es bringt halt nicht viel, so muss man einfach sagen. Das ist halt, also für mich ist es halt einfach ein bisschen Bewegung, ein bisschen Sport, aber ohne dass jetzt wirklich drauf geachtet wird, okay, jetzt irgendwie Muskeln aufbauen oder so, ne? Und es ist auch sehr viel, da gibt es auch schon andere Videos drüber, dass halt Übungen auch nicht richtig erklärt werden, dass die teilweise falsch vorgemacht werden, und das ist halt echt gefährlich, so gerade wenn du wirklich neu in der Szene bist und mit Sport anfängst. Finde ich persönlich, ist es immer besser, irgendwie ins Fitnessstudio zu gehen, sich das einmal halt richtig erklären zu lassen. So, weil, weiß ich nicht, ich bin jetzt auch schon öfter, also jetzt auch schon irgendwie mit Fitnesstrainern trainiert und so, ne, aber auch wenn ich jetzt mit Timo gehe, so, es kann, also selbst ich habe dann irgendwelche Übungen oder so, die man vielleicht mal ein bisschen falsch macht, und da kann wirklich super viel auch kaputt gehen am Körper, ne, wenn du Übungen nicht richtig machst, ne, wenn du, keine Ahnung, den Rücken nicht gerade hältst oder die Handgelenke nicht gerade machst und so weiter. Auf der anderen Seite muss man aber natürlich sagen, für jemanden, der vielleicht gar keinen Sport gemacht hat vorher und sich gar nicht bewegt hat und dann irgendwie an einem Abend einen 20 Minuten Pamela Reif Tanzworkout macht, ist es halt trotzdem schon mal mehr Bewegung als vorher so, ne? Und ich meine, solange es Spaß macht, wenn es jetzt nicht darum geht, okay, ich will jetzt einen krassen Körper haben, sondern wirklich einfach, hey, ne, so ein bisschen Bewegung und so weiter haben, finde ich, also sind viele Videos wahrscheinlich schon in Ordnung, das halt zu machen, ne? Aber klar, ich würde jetzt nicht Fitness in meine Bio schreiben, nur weil ich Pamela Reif Videos gucke, ne?
Nachhaltigen Materialien. Eine ziemlich vage Formulierung, was vermutlich daran liegt, dass der Verein Foodwatch e.V. letztere Aussage nicht so ganz bestätigen konnte. Die nominierten den Clean Protein Bar von Pamela 2021, nämlich für den goldenen Windbeutel. Das ist ein Negativpreis für besonders dreiste Werbeversprechen. Ich zitiere mal aus der Nominierung. Die Fitness-Influencerin Pamela Reif bewirbt die Verpackung ihres Proteinriegels als plastikfrei, biologisch abbaubar und umweltfreundlicher als konventionelles Plastik. Tatsächlich handelt es sich jedoch um eine Plastikfolie, die weder kompostiert noch recycelt wird, sondern als Plastikmüll in der Müllverbrennung landet. Auch in der Natur würde die Folie, wenn überhaupt, nur sehr langsam abgebaut. Naturally Pam hat sich damals auch zu diesen Vorwürfen geäußert.
Wie findest du die Workouts von Sascha Huber? Ich finde die gut. Also ich habe die auch mal eine Zeit lang zu Hause gemacht. Der hat ja auch welche ohne Gewichte. Ich muss aber sagen, ich feiere das nicht. Ich feiere auch zu Hause Training überhaupt nicht. Ich muss irgendwie ins Gym, so ich kann mich nicht zu Hause irgendwie hinsetzen und dann trainieren. Das geht nicht.
Man kann die Antwort-Mail auch noch im Netz finden. Sie sagen hier halt, dass das PLA ja aus Zuckerrohr und Mais gewonnen wurde.
Ich meine, ich bin jetzt auch kein Fitnesstrainer oder so, aber ich würde sagen, was Sascha Huber für Übungen und so weiter macht, als Laie würde ich sagen, macht aber schon Sinn, auf jeden Fall, was für Übungen man da vorgesetzt bekommt.
Damit ein nachwachsender Kunststoff wäre. Ja, aber trotzdem ist PLA halt ein Polyester, der nicht einfach so kompostiert, wenn man ihn in die Natur wirft. Man bräuchte dafür ein bestimmtes Kompostierverfahren, aber das gibt es in Deutschland nicht wirklich. Deswegen wird dieses Produkt im Müll beim Entsorger verbrannt, statt kompostiert oder gar recycelt, wie es andere Kunststoffe werden. Und ich muss sagen, ein Verpackungsmaterial wie PLA als plastikfrei zu bezeichnen, finde ich persönlich mehr als dreist. Das ist für mich so ein bisschen Schönrederei. Und das ist eigentlich auch das, was sich für mich durch das gesamte Werk der Pamela Reif zieht. So ein bisschen. Also ich will sie überhaupt nicht vergleichen mit anderen Personen im Internet, die sich wirklich für nichts zu schade.
Oh, dankeschön. Oh, Enigma, für die 3,33. Schau mal, was STRG erst vor 6 Minuten hochgeladen hat. Och nein. Nein, bitte nicht. Vor allem auch nice. Danke, dass du mir dafür Geld spendest. Der hätte es doch einfach schreien können. Rechte Influencer, neue Masche Neonazis. Das könnten wir uns echt angucken.
Dass ich das mal gesagt habe, also das ist definitiv viel, viel schlimmere. Aber ich möchte auch in diesem Fitnessbereich mal so ein bisschen Aufklärung leisten. Preise wie im Frieden. Und um das Ganze weiterzuführen, vor einiger Zeit habe ich mir aus persönlichem Interesse auch als Konsument mal den Spaß gemacht, Pamelas Produkte mit handelsüblichen Alternativen aus Supermarkt und Drogerie zu vergleichen. Am meisten negativ ins Auge gestochen ist mir dabei die Schokolade. Und weil man die meiner Meinung nach sehr gut mit der Drogeriemarkt-Alternative vergleichen kann, habe ich das für euch hier einfach mal 1:1 gemacht. Wir haben hier auf der einen Seite die vegane Bio-Schokolade von DM und auf der anderen Seite die vegane Naturally Pam Schokolade, ebenfalls mit 70% Kakao. Das erste, was meiner Meinung nach schon ziemlich frech ist, dass Pamelas Schokolade nicht diese klassische 100 Gramm Größe hat, wie man anhand der Verpackung erstmal vermuten könnte, sondern nur 85 Gramm, aber trotzdem eben deutlich teurer ist als die Drogeriemarkt-Alternative. Also ich habe das mal für euch ausgerechnet. Auf 100 Gramm gerechnet kostet diese Tafel 3,28 €. Also mehr als das Doppelte von der Drogerietafel für 1,15 €. Genau genommen also 185% mehr. Und das wird noch witziger, wenn man bedenkt, dass beide Schokoladen nur aus jeweils 3 Zutaten bestehen. 2 davon sind identisch, nämlich Kakaomasse und Kakaobutter. Die letzte Zutat ist Zucker. Beim Drogeriemarkt ist es Rohrzucker, bei Pamela Kokosblütenzucker. Und ich weiß, manchen von euch jucken wahrscheinlich schon die Finger, aber bevor wir auf diesen verdammten Kokosblütenzucker eingehen, vergleichen wir nochmal kurz die Nährwerte.
Bookspin, ich weiß nicht, wann das Mois-Video auf dem Uncut-Kanal kommt. Ich lade das halt hoch nach dem Stream. Muss halt gucken, wann das halt grün ist, ne? Du kannst aber auch einfach auf meinen Twitch-Kanal gehen und die VOD gucken. Das war das erste Video, was wir geschaut haben.
Schokoladen. Pamelas Schokolade hat im Vergleich zur sehr ähnlich zusammengesetzten Drogerieschokolade auf 100 Gramm 52 Kilokalorien mehr, 5,9 Gramm gesättigte Fettsäuren mehr und 1,8 Gramm weniger Eiweiß. Lediglich beim Zucker kann sie punkten mit 0,9 Gramm weniger Zucker.
Ja,
also ich sag mal so, das ist jetzt vielleicht nur eine persönliche Präferenz, aber bei meinem Verständnis von Fitness könnte ich mit sehr gutem Gewissen auf die Drogeriemarkt-Alternative zurückgreifen. Wenn ihr noch mehr Vergleiche von Pamelas Produkten zu anderen Supermarktprodukten wollt, dann schaut mal in dieses Video von Yummy Bean. Da findet ihr sicherlich noch ein paar weitere kostengünstige Alternativen. Und auch bei so Sachen wie Haferflocken gebe ich euch jetzt einfach mal den Tipp, nur weil man die in Organic Oats umbenennt, ist.
Ja, ist halt, das ist genau das, wo wir am Anfang noch drüber gesprochen haben mit Handys und so weiter. Ne? Du zahlst halt für Marke einfach halt sehr, sehr viel. Ne? Huawei absolut überteuert, nein, aber man merkt halt so vom Aufbau der Seite, ne, wie das so dargestellt wird, dass es halt als was Besseres dargestellt werden soll, obwohl es halt teilweise das Gleiche ist oder vielleicht sogar schlechter von den Inhaltsstoffen her, obwohl es halt einfach deutlich teurer ist, ne, weil das ist halt immer das Gute als Influencer so, ne, guck mal, Pamela Reif hat 9 Millionen Abonnenten oder Follower, da werden halt auch viele sein, die halt, ja, nicht so, also was heißt jetzt Intelligenz, das falsche Wort, aber die schon so Fanboy-mäßig ihr natürlich folgen, ne, die ihr glauben, die sie gut finden so, und da gibt man natürlich auch das Geld gerne halt dafür aus, weil man denkt, man kriegt auch was für den Preis, was aber halt nicht so ist, weil du zahlst eigentlich nur dafür, dass es sie rausgebracht hat. Finde ich persönlich immer so ein bisschen schade, ne, klar, auch sie soll ihren Gewinn und so weiter machen, aber ich weiß nicht, man muss es ja nicht komplett überteuert anbieten, so, und ich meine, für 85 Gramm Schokolade 3,28 € zu verlangen, ich weiß nicht, Digga. Also, ich esse jetzt keine Schokolade, ich feiere das nicht so, aber.
Ist da sicherlich kein Wundermittel drin.
Ja, warte, ich wollte meinen Pullover anziehen, aber dann verstehe ich das Video gar nicht, deswegen stoppen wir einfach mal ganz kurz. Für 2,49 € kann man locker 6 Packungen Haferflocken kaufen. Ja, vor allem, was soll denn an denen anders sein als bei anderen? Also Haferflocken sind doch einfach Haferflocken, oder? Da wird damit was gemacht? Eigentlich nicht, oder? Wie stellt man Haferflocken her? Wahrscheinlich aus Hafer, ne? Dann werden die geflockt. Das so Haferflocken. Würde ich sagen, so würde ich die herstellen.
Und gibt es auch in sämtlichen Supermärkten, teilweise auch günstiger. Also ich meine, wenn ihr sowieso online bestellt und vielleicht auch eure Lieblingsinfluencerin unterstützen wollt, tut euch keinen Zwang an, macht es gerne. Aber nur, dass ihr es mal gehört habt. So, jetzt aber zum Kokosblütenzucker. Die Kokosblütenzuckerlüge. Ich höre schon einige von euch schreien, ja, aber Pamela benutzt doch in ihren Produkten den tollen Kokosblütenzucker. Der ist viel gesünder als der böse Rohrzucker und dafür bezahle ich auch gerne mehr. Ich sag's, wie es ist. Ich habe das auch gedacht früher. Ich bin komplett auf dieses Marketing reingefallen. Ich habe Produkte einfach nur gekauft, weil statt Rohrzucker Kokosblütenzucker drin war, weil mir einfach ganz viele verschiedene Influencer gesagt haben, dass das besser sei. Aber gucken wir uns doch jetzt einfach mal genau an, wie viel...
Ja, das habe ich auch tatsächlich gehört, wo ich das Kaffee und Kuchen mit dem Typen von 61 Minuten Haha hier gedreht habe. Ich meine, der hat mir auch gesagt, dass ich diesen Zucker holen soll und nicht mehr den Rohrzucker, weil der irgendwie gesünder ist. Ich bin allerdings natürlich faul, deswegen habe ich...
Oh, you watched it, did we? When they're clicked, it's my editors. Oh my god! Wait, that egg is huge! Oh shit! He was rolling though. He was gonna go hard though. Oh, that's classic. That's so old. Jump, 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 jump.
Charonchik baby. Do you speak English?
Oh. True shit.
O bichinho que dá trabalho. Ô, Malu, tá arrumando aí, doidão? Tá ficando de noite já.
Damn. Oh. Huh? Damn. Oh, I felt that, dude. What? Oh, man, dude. Yeah, I can hear the fork. That's disgusting. Wait, was she naked? Did you see a whole ass booty? That's insane, dude! Oh shit.
Oh my.
Is that real?
Following Newcastle basketball, we will be closed over Christmas from Thursday, December 20 until fuck!
On average, how many miles do people in developing countries get to water?
Oh no! Chat, I got a pigeon in my backyard. I think it's got a tumor. It's poor thing. His acid, bro. Turn. You fucking think.
Gamagoo. Hey, now but bebop.
Oh man. He's got nice teeth, damn.
Ik het vicious gum.
Oh, that's French Canadian, man. I always hated them that that. Oh.
Let your power
shine. Save what
Chat, how do they call it, chat? Chat, how do they call those in Australia? I forgot. You know, the pokies, something like that? The pokies, dude! Yeah, Australians are fucking addicted to that shit, it's crazy. The fucking pokies can't. Oh, damn. Not bad. Huh? Huh? Where is it?
没有了啊，没有了。
Andre, you gonna have to move because that smoke getting in my hair. Take it off.
Oh, hell no. Ooh. Jesus, man.
Excuse me?
Oh, okay, then.
How much is this? I don't know.
Alright, man. Oh. Oh, where?
Ja još nemam položeno, ali mogu da teram sve.
Wait, what? Behoyoya.
Style is
Can I get a oh yeah and hobbycraft?
Don't ask me how I'm getting ripped. It's just part of life, you know. I'm turning into a man. I can't help.
Damn. That is funny, bro. That is funny.
As you can see, my dog's starting to get old. This is a pet gear ramp. I'll show you how it works. Okay, see? Now your old ass dog can watch you skate out of your truck.
That's kind of wicked, actually. That is a disgusting rat. That is a disgusting. Dude, poor things. Why do they even breed these fucking evil spawnlings? Look at its eyes. It's popping out of its head. Look, look. Dude, the eyes are busting out, dude. Yuckington. How is it cute, man? If you own a rat, man, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Pugs. Breed. Look at this, look at this. Look at this, look!
Say hi.
Look at this.
Trademark smushed in face.
Look, it can't breathe!
It too comes at a cost. Pugs are brachycephalic dogs, meaning dogs with short noses.
Short nose? Bro, it's bugged in. It's built in.
They often have elongated palates, which means they have some breathing problems.
Then stop breathing them!
Trouble breathing in warmer weather. The upside to this smooshed in flat face is adorable face wrinkles.
Oh, fuck
Yes,
you!
pugs were
What a
what
stupid
some may
narrative.
call ugly. Screw. The perfect tail.
I know people keep reading that shit. It's crazy. She shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Unavoidable.
Let me tell you,
Can't ignore.
I don't know why they don't tighten the knob on some of this shit. Why do they allow some of this shit to be bred and whatnot? Bro, it's just stupid. These animals are they're miserable.
Anyone knows? Welcome to the splash zone. I'm just gonna cannonball into the pool right away here because this story's got me heated. I am boiling right now. On YouTube, there is one unforgivable sin, an unwritten rule that every creator and user is aware of. It's kind of like a treaty, a truce that we've all shaken hands on and accept because it is inexcusable, slimy, and anytime someone tries to take a bite of the forbidden fruit, they rightfully get their cheeks disciplined, a very firm spanking from the whole community, and most of the time they end up pretty much losing their career from it, from their own self-destructive narcissism and greed. That is false copyright strikes, and unfortunately that's what we're talking about today. a big YouTube channel named Magnates Media is facing termination because he received 3 fraudulent copyright strikes from another YouTube channel named Business Casual, aka Alex Edson. Now, Alex Edson is a special fucking malicious goofball. You see, this guy didn't even build the Business Casual channel from scratch or anything. He bought it when it was already extremely popular. So he didn't even put the fucking work in, which is an absolute goober move off rip. But you've probably heard of this channel recently because he had a viral video talking about why he's suing YouTube. And while there is some compelling points and evidence, there's also a bunch of dirty barnacles in here as well, with some shady claims and some claims that were just absolutely wrong, like provably false. But overall, like, the video did have a lot to it, which is why it was so popular, and it was well put together, it was high production, and made some good points and some not so great points. But overall, it was kind of odd. And a couple YouTubers actually pointed out a lot of it. In fact, Upper Echelon made 3 videos kind of covering all of it, which I think make very good points. Overall, the whole thing was odd, if nothing else. And now Alex is back from the septic tanks, he's risen from the sewers like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he's bringing bad news. He's striking down Magnates Media with what I and anyone with a functioning cerebral cortex will classify as blatant abuse of the copyright systems. So, he's issued 3 strikes to Magnates Media, which sets his channel up for termination in the coming days. He's already received a notice that his channel will be taken down because of these strikes from Business Casual. Let me just lay down the brass tacks here with the level of lunacy we're dealing with these claims. So, Business Casual is basically taking away Magnates Media's entire livelihood because he believes that some of his content looked similar to his based on an editing technique called parallax editing. So he struck him 3 times for 3 separate videos. The total content time of those 3 videos is over an hour and a half long. And of those 3 videos, in total, 10 seconds, roughly 10 seconds worth of footage, Alex is saying belonged to him. So in one of the videos, it is actually just a single image that lasts for like 3 seconds, and he's saying that he stole it directly from his video because the parallax editing technique was a dead giveaway. But Magnates Media has proven beyond a shadow of doubt that not only is that image a public domain image, because they were covering a similar topic, so of course they're going to have similar images because it's a fucking public domain image. So he proved it's a public domain image and that the parallax editing technique was done by his editor. And he has like a 16-minute video showcasing his editor doing the editing on that photo to prove he didn't take it from Business Casual. And they don't even look similar in any of these cases, but this is how outrageous Alex Edson's claims are. In total, about 10 seconds he has a problem with, saying that it looks similar to his work, thus it must have been stolen, and he has a right to terminate this channel. And Magnates Media channel will be terminated because of these 3 strikes as of right now. He's already received the notice that it's coming. It's right around the corner. That is fucking frightening and just downright evil from Business Casual. Upper Echelon made an incredible video going over this entire subject from top to bottom, inside and out. I highly recommend checking out that video. I'm going to put a link to it in the description. He does an amazing job breaking it all down thoroughly, as well as some other incredibly fucked up things Alex has done.
You read the other provisions of the DMCA Safe Harbor, Section 512, it's clear that Congress did not want parties to have to sue to enforce their rights. So while it may be that the system could be gamed on the other side, that's how Congress intended it to be. End quote. That right there is Business Casual arguing that simply because he filed some strikes, it therefore means that YouTube needs to terminate the entire channel without him proving anything in a court of law. That's what we just read, and that appears to be precisely what he's doing now to a channel named Magnates Media.
What he was reading there comes from a completely different case, but just hearing that is beyond alarming. That is fucking chaos. That is the opening of Pandora's box in the worst way imaginable. So Alex Edson is an actual villain, and what he's doing here is completely unjustifiable. This is beyond fucking tragic. There's absolutely no argument he nor anyone could make on his behalf that would justify him taking down an entire channel, ruining the entire career and livelihood of that creator based on similarity of public domain images. Now, they made videos on similar topics, obviously. They did do that, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like Alex owns that whole topic or anything. And Alex even made a bold claim that Magnates Media stole his scripts from his videos. which is so laughably delusional. I imagine he was twirling his little evil mustache when he made that claim, because Business Casual's videos on the same content as Magnate Media is like 19 minutes, 20 minutes long sometimes. Magnate's media coverage is like 50 plus minutes long. So Magnate's Media does a much more thorough breakdown and deep dive on everything than Business Casual, so how the fuck would he have stolen any of the scripts? But even still, Magnate's Media played ball with it. He tap danced with the claims and still proved his innocence by showing all of the timestamps of the editing done to his script from fucking start to finish. Alex tried to claim that he stole his scripts and plugged it into ChatGPT to generate a somewhat different script while still maintaining his video's DNA. He doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. He's just using random buzzwords in his stupid little smooth brain. That's so laughable. What a fucking joke of a person. And it's sickening to see him do this to someone he views as competition. That's the only explanation I can think of for why he'd even target this channel. There is absolutely no justification or argument someone can make that would convince me that what Alex is doing here is just, and he has a right to do so. If there really was an issue where he felt like these images were stolen, like, oh, you took this image that my editor worked hard on editing, he could have reached out to Magnate's Media. And Magnate's Media has said multiple times on Twitter that he has tried to reach out to Alex himself to try and resolve this whole situation amicably. But Alex isn't responding. He's giving the cold shoulder, fucking full radio silence. But you could have reached out and said, hey, can you remove that, or some other different solution that doesn't involve striking. That is the nuclear option. That is the harshest punishment that you can dish out. And it's highly unnecessary here when all of the offending content that you believe is too similar to yours only accounts for 10 seconds out of over an hour and a half worth of content. That makes no sense. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's shameful. It is beyond shameful. Another YouTuber made a great video covering this situation as well, which I'll link in the description too. And he leads to a bigger conversation to be had about what this could mean for the entire platform going forward, as well as he talks about something that I think is important we mention as well. That if Magnate's Media tries to push back and defend himself, fight back against Alex Edson legally, Alex Edson may very well just turn around and sue him. He has shown he is more than willing to do that, and it just seems like he is vaguely alluding to the fact that he would be open to doing that against Magnate's Media should he try and defend himself against his claims here. So, just an actual piece of shit. Now, what Scott highlights, and something that I'd also like to talk about, is what it could mean for the whole platform should this behavior continue. It would mean that if you, let's say, are doing a, video essay on a topic that another channel has covered, you might be at risk of them striking your channel down because you used the same image they used. You were covering the same topic and you may have used the same image, and maybe you just used very standard editing techniques like, TV static effect, or a very common one you see in all video essays these days are the crumpled paper backgrounds. A lot of video essays today use the crumpled paper background. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, should this kind of shit continue, you could very well be next on the chopping block for someone who said, hey, I have a right to use the crumpled paper background. You have lifted my editing technique. This work is too similar to mine. Here's a strike for it. I think it's pretty obvious how that would be absolutely awful to the platform overall. So really the whole thing is terrible. This whole situation is really bad for YouTube entirely. I've only scratched the very tip of this iceberg with how disgusting this whole situation is. So I do encourage you once again to watch the Upper Echelon video as well as Scott Schaefer's video. Mudahar also just posted something about it, and all three of them are far more knowledgeable on all of the nuance to this subject than I am. I just wanted to give a general overview of everything, and I'll just quickly try and cover my own ass before Alex Edson tries to stick his tongue in it. I'm just giving my opinion on everything. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't pass the bar. I can't say for sure if these are fraudulent claims or if it's an alleged abuse of the copyright system. I'm just giving my dumb, stupid caveman brain opinion on it and saying that I think you suck, Alex. I think you are a revolting, stinky piece of dog shit that not even the flies want to be around. That's all. I'm just here to kind of make fun of you and point out a problem here with your behavior. So yeah, here's hoping Magnate's Media doesn't lose his channel from all of this absolute mumbo-jumbo. That would be extremely upsetting to see. Hoping for the best for him and his channel and a good outcome from this whole situation here. That's really about it. So yeah.
Habe ich das nie umgestellt, aber ich glaube, der hat mir das auch gesagt. Beziehungsweise für was nutzt man Zucker eigentlich? Für was nutzt ihr Zucker so im Haushalt? Ich glaube, ich habe auch Zucker zu Hause, aber ich mache damit einfach gar nichts. Also gut backen, aber ich backe jetzt halt nicht.
Besser es denn eigentlich ist. Die Süßkraft von Rohrzucker und Kokosblütenzucker ist in etwa gleich. Das ist schon mal gut, damit wir diese beiden Dinge vergleichen können. Was die Kalorien betrifft...
Ja, Digga, aber für Tee wird auf jeden Fall Kandiszucker benutzt.
...sind Rohrzucker und Kokosblütenzucker entgegen mancher
Oder Honig
Gerüchte im Internet tatsächlich fast identisch. Auf Pamelas Website haben 100 Gramm ihres Organic Coconut Sugars auch 396 Kilokalorien. Und zum Vergleich für euch, also Rohrzucker liegt auf 100 Gramm bei 396 bis 399 Kilokalorien. Nun esst ihr aber hoffentlich keine 100 Gramm Zucker, egal von welchem der beiden Zucker. Sagen wir mal in...
Was für Zucker? Was habe ich gerade gesagt? Wie heißt das? Kandiszucker. Kennt ihr das nicht?
Schokolade, um beim Beispiel
heißt ja nicht so?
zu bleiben,
Kandiszucker.
sind etwa 27 Gramm Zucker. Dann lägen wir hier bei einem maximalen Kalorienunterschied von 1,9 Kilokalorien. Das ist nicht mal ein Tic-Tac. Und ich erinnere euch auch nochmal dran an eben, Pamelas Schokolade hatte ja insgesamt sogar deutlich mehr Kilokalorien als die Drogeriemarktalternative. In Kalorienhinsicht ist also Kokosblütenzucker definitiv keine Fitnessalternative. Das könnt ihr in eurem Kopf jetzt streichen, ausradieren, löschen. Aber da wäre ja noch die Sache mit diesem Blutzuckerspiegel. Also im Internet liest man häufig, dass Kokosblütenzucker den Blutzuckerspiegel nicht so in die Höhe schießen lassen würde und somit langfristig weniger Heißhungerattacken auf Süßes entstehen lässt. Um den Verlauf des Blutzuckerspiegels nach dem Verzehr verschiedener Lebensmittel zu bestimmen, gibt es den glykämischen Index. Je höher der Wert, desto höher fällt der Blutzuckeranstieg aus. Im Internet hält sich aus mir unerklärlichen Gründen für Kokosblütenzucker die Zahl 35 für den glykämischen Index. Ich glaube, das basiert auf irgendeiner Studie, wo 10 Leute getestet wurden aus Indonesien oder so. Ich habe es aber jetzt konkret gar nicht gefunden, diese Studie überhaupt, nur Leute, die darüber geschrieben haben. Ja, aber beim Stern zum Beispiel wird es einfach ohne Angaben von irgendeiner Quelle einfach so behauptet. Ich habe mir aber mal
Fruchtzucker ist teilweise viel höher. Ja, ich weiß nicht, also ich habe mich irgendwann mal ganz früher damit befasst. Also ich versuche einfach so wenig Zucker wie möglich zu essen. Aber es ist nicht irgendwie so, dass wenn jetzt zum Beispiel ein Apfel ist, da ist ja auch Fruchtzucker und so weiter drin, dass der einfach generell langsamer ins Blut kommt. Weil da halt noch, also im Apfel noch viele andere Stoffe irgendwie sind oder so und das dann generell langsamer freigegeben wird, als wenn ich jetzt Kuchen esse oder so. Das habe ich zumindest mal gelesen. Aber Bruder, bin da nicht dabei, dann müssen wir Doc Felix fragen. Oder die Frau aus dem Body Positivity Video, die kennt sich da definitiv auch mit aus.
Angeguckt, die wirklich auf einer Studie basieren soll, nämlich von der University of Sydney. Und da kommt Kokosblütenzucker auf einen glykämischen Index von 54. Zum Vergleich, Rohrzucker liegt bei 60. Der Unterschied ist also auch hier super klein. Und es legt auch diese Studie hier nahe. Die untersuchte nämlich, wie sich Kokosblütenzucker auf den Blutzucker von 43 übergewichtigen Patienten mit Typ 2 Diabetes auswirkte. Und gerade für Leute mit Diabetes ist eben dieser glykämische Index super wichtig. Und es wurde kein signifikanter Unterschied, also kein bedeutender Unterschied zwischen der Wirkung von Kokosblütenzucker und Rohrzucker auf den Blutzuckerspiegel festgestellt. Die Autoren schlossen daraus, dass Kokosblütenzucker eben keine gesunde Alternative zu Rohrzucker für Patienten mit Typ 2 Diabetes ist. Übrigens, auch um das mal gesagt zu haben, wird auch oft behauptet, dass Kokosblütenzucker einfach mehr wertvolle Nährstoffe und Mineralien hätte als der böse Rohrzucker. Aber auch das ist bei der Menge, die man als normaler Mensch an Zucker isst, komplett zu vernachlässigen und relativ irrelevant. Ja, und wenn man jetzt bedenkt, dass eine Fitness-Influencerin einfach Säcke an Zucker auf ihrer Webseite verkauft, der, wenn überhaupt, nur marginal besser ist als Rohrzucker, da muss man sagen, well played, also Marketing durchgespielt.
Von da würde mich interessieren, ich meine, das ist ja einfach wirklich so eine Lüge, die halt rumgeht, die halt viele glauben. Weiß sie es selber einfach nicht besser und die hat sich einfach nicht informiert und das glauben die da einfach in der Firma oder ist das so Absicht, dass sie sich sagen, ja, mit der Lüge können wir verdienen? Könnte ja beides sein halt, ne? Also, wenn du dir ihre Fitnessübungen so anguckst, wäre das gar nicht so weit hergeholt, dass sie von Ernährung auch nicht so viel Ahnung hat.
Neidlos anerkennen. Also seid doch mal ehrlich, wenn die jetzt auf ihrer Webseite Rohrzucker verkaufen würde, dann würdet ihr doch alle sagen, what the fuck, was ist falsch? Aber weil euch Influencer einfach lang genug erzählt haben, dass der Kokosblütenzucker ja besser ist als der böse Rohrzucker, nehmt ihr das in Kauf. Also ihr, sage ich jetzt einfach mal so, ich habe es auf jeden Fall getan, eine lange Zeit. Ich habe es abgekauft. Im wahrsten Sinne des Wortes. So, und bevor wir jetzt zum nächsten Thema kommen, zu dem ganzen Zuckerthema noch ein ganz kurzer Einschub, weil ich das für wichtig halte. Erstmal ist es völlig legitim, wenn man ab und zu Zucker konsumiert. Ich finde es halt nur nicht legitim, wenn man so tut, als ob ein Zucker gesund sei, der in Wirklichkeit aber nicht
Wann können wir endlich Kuchen-TV-Windeln als Merch kaufen?
ist.
Ja, es gibt doch bestimmt irgendwelche Firmen, die so Erwachsenenwindeln anbieten. Dann schreibe ich die mal an, ob die kooperieren wollen. Was wollt ihr drauf haben?
Generell sollte man es mit jeglichem Zucker einfach nicht übertreiben. Und jetzt kommt mein Einschub. Ich könnte mir vorstellen, dass dieses Video und alles, was ich bis jetzt zum Thema Zucker gesagt habe, bewusst ausgenutzt wird von Leuten, die Alternativprodukte mit Süßstoffen
Mein Gesicht.
Abseits von Zucker bewerben wollen, weil das wird immer gerne in diesem Zusammenhang gemacht. Nur um das mal ganz kurz klarzustellen, ich halte absolut gar nichts von Süßstoffkonsum im Übermaß. Außer man ist jetzt eine Diabetiker und das ist die einzige Art und Weise, wie man süße Dinge überhaupt konsumieren kann. Ich weiß, da sind die Meinungen sehr zwiegespalten. Vielleicht mache ich auch nochmal ein komplettes Video zum Thema Süßstoffe, damit ihr nachvollziehen könnt, warum das meine Ansichten sind. Aber für heute gebe ich euch einfach mal mit, dass es vielleicht sinnvoller sein kann, generell den Genuss von Süßem zu reduzieren, anstatt Zucker mit Süßstoffen zu substituieren, weil man sich dadurch auch in eine Art Abhängigkeit von diesen Produkten begibt. Und ich will jetzt gar nicht weiter über das Thema Essstörungen und sowas ausführen, nur dass ihr es mal grob gehört habt, dass ich von Süßstoffen als Alternative eben auch nicht so wirklich viel halte. So, Pamela kann...
Wie ist es bei euch? Achtet ihr drauf, wie viel Zucker ihr esst? Weil ich versuche schon, wenig Zucker zu mir zu nehmen. Man soll ja irgendwie so 25 bis 50 Gramm maximal am Tag essen. Aber das schaffst du eigentlich nicht, ne? Also das ist wirklich, also ich trinke zum Beispiel Wasser, so das ist ja immer so ein großer Zuckerlieferant. Gut, jetzt gerade natürlich, um ein bisschen Koffein zu haben, irgendwie mal so eine Sinalco geht auch mal. Aber sonst, also, weiß ich nicht, das ist halt, ja, ich zähle das jetzt auch nicht oder so, aber alleine wenn du jetzt, keine Ahnung, boah, was esse ich denn? Gute Frage. Ich habe mir mal hier letztens so einen Protein-Kakao-Drink geholt, einfach weil ich Bock drauf hatte. Und ich glaube, allein da drin waren schon irgendwie 20 Gramm Zucker. So, weißt du, einfach so ein Getränk, 330 Milliliter. So,
jetzt mal kurz durchatmen. Wir kommen zu einem Thema, was sehr, sehr viele Fitness-Influencer auf Social Media betrifft. Wir kommen nämlich zu den Workouts, den Fitnessplänen, die wir alle so gerne zu Hause nachtun. Und das Motto, was ich euch jetzt nenne, könnt ihr euch wirklich hinter die Ohren schreiben, damit ihr es nicht vergesst. Aussehen ungleich Wissen. Mein Lieblingsbeispiel ist hier Fitness-Influencerin Lisa Del Piero. Sie ist absolut fit und...
Digga, macht die diese Übung wirklich mit 30, 60... Mit 150 Kilo plus Stange.
Häufig im Gym, gar keine Frage. Aber ein
Geht das überhaupt?
Po-Workout bei Gimondo zu vermarkten, wenn man sich selbst den Po mit Eigenfett hat aufpolstern lassen, hat einen faden Beigeschmack.
Ich habe mir aber meine Hip-Dips, also die Lücken hier an den Seiten, minimal auffüllen lassen mit meinem Oberschenkelinnenfett und da wurde minimal was entnommen und hier in diese Lücken gesetzt.
Und selbst das scheint ja nicht zu reichen, sogar mit Fotobearbeitung selbst wird hier nachgeholfen.
Ich gucke mir die Fotos nur so an, ich gucke nicht, was da bearbeitet ist.
Wenn ich mir diese Jeans anschaue, Po aufspritzen lassen und dann so tun, als ob es nur durch Fitness entstanden ist. Ist ja fast so, als ob jemand beim Friseur war, um seine Haare blond zu färben und dann sagt, dass er ein Schönheitsideal verkörpert, was es in China nicht gibt.
Meine Freundin nimmt mehr als 150 Kilo. Ach, die hat dir das mit uns erzählt? Ja, gut.
Zurück zum Thema. Ich habe ja schon viele Fitness-Influencer im Real Life sehen dürfen. Und ich kann euch sagen, auch bei Fitness-Influencern wird viel gepostet, gefotoshoppt oder beschönigt. Übrigens bei Männern kenne ich mich persönlich nicht so gut aus, aber auch hier gilt natürlich, viele Influencer helfen nach, sei es mit Photoshop oder dort auch häufig mit Testosteron.
Außer Sascha Huber, der ist real.
Was man sich eben spritzt, ne, damit man mehr Muskelmasse aufbaut. Und viele, die es machen, geben es nicht offen zu. Also nur weil jemand in euren Augen gut aussieht, bedeutet das nicht, dass diese Person ihre Form auf natürlichem Wege erreicht hat oder auf dem Weg erreicht hat, wie sie euch dann vermittelt, wie sie erreicht hat. Wenn ihr wisst, was ich meine. Also anders gesagt, nur wenn ihr die Workouts, die eine Person postet, stur nachmacht, werdet ihr nicht aussehen wie diese Person. Weil da oft noch ein ganz anderer Lifestyle hintersteckt. Also sie sind teilweise jeden Tag im Gym, mehrere Stunden im Gym, viel konsequenter dabei, weil es auch ihr Hauptberuf ist. Ne? Ist ja auch irgendwie logisch. Ja, nur, dass ich das auch mal gesagt habe. Und wir kommen, um das Beispiel nochmal zu verdeutlichen, zurück zu Lisa Del Piero.
Spielt der echt der Sascha Huber real ist? Ja, denke ich schon. Ich glaube, der ist generell ein sehr krasser Typ. So, ich glaube schon, dass da alles real ist. Aber ja, das ist generell immer so das Problem. Gerade so bei Fitness-Influencern und sowas. Na, online kannst du dich halt immer so darstellen, wie du möchtest halt. Ne? Das ist generell... Ja, da muss man halt aufpassen, weil mit der Fitnessszene, also gerade seit Corona, du kannst da wirklich so viel Geld machen, ne, wirklich extrem viel, ne, wenn du irgendwie so ein paar Muskeln hast, dann keine Ahnung, verkaufst du irgendwelche Coaches und so weiter, da gibt's halt auch wirklich viele schwarze Schafe, ne, das ist immer schade, wenn man mit sowas dann irgendwie Geld machen möchte, wenn du halt keine Ahnung hast, weil es auch immer Menschen schaden kann. Ne?
Auf eine bisschen wissenschaftliche Ebene zu bringen. Also ihr Booty Next Level Programm bei Gimondo soll für Zuschauer ohne Hanteln und ohne Geräte funktionieren. Also ich kann ja mal hier vorlesen, hier ist so von straffe dein Body oder mache deine Rückseite zur Schokoladenseite die Rede. Und die Versprechen wurden vermutlich absichtlich vage gehalten, da es unwahrscheinlich ist, dass man von Bodyweight Training ein Po wie den von Lisa Del Piero bekommt. Also von Unterspritzung jetzt mal komplett abgesehen. Aber Lisa Del Piero zeigt sich auf Instagram andauernd, wie sie im Gym trainiert mit viel Gewicht, mit massiv viel Gewicht. Und das hat auch einen Grund. Obwohl es für Anfänger absolut sinnvoll ist, zum Sport erstmal nur das eigene Gewicht zu nutzen, ne, um überhaupt erstmal reinzukommen, um Muskelmasse aufzubauen, um ein bisschen Fett zu verlieren.
Nee, Digga, wer nicht anfängt, bei Bankdrücken 80 Kilo zu machen, der kann direkt aufhören.
Nähert sich der Körper mit wachsender Fitness relativ schnell einem Plateau an. Also es bedeutet logischerweise, dass man sich ohne Gewichte irgendwann nur noch steigern kann, wenn man die Wiederholungsanzahl erhöht. Ne, also ganz einfach gesagt, wenn ich jetzt 20 Kniebeugen locker schaffe zu Hause, dann kann ich die ja nur noch krasser machen, indem ich halt irgendwie 40 Kniebeugen mache, wenn ich kein Gewicht habe. Hierbei handelt es sich aber um eine Kraftausdauerübung, also keine Muskelhypertrophie. Also es wird nicht gefördert, dass die Muskeln wachsen, sondern einfach nur, dass die Kraftausdauer besser wird. Das werden euch sehr viele Experten auf diesem Gebiet bestätigen können. Und ich bin ganz ehrlich, auch hier, ne, vor 2-3 Jahren wusste ich das nicht. Also ich habe echt gedacht, wenn ich einfach Homeworkouts mache und wenn ich davon mehr mache, dann werden meine Muskeln genauso wachsen, wie wenn ich irgendwie im Fitnessstudio Gewichte bewege. Aber Brennen alleine reicht eben nicht. Also ich weiß, man spürt dann so ein Brennen, man denkt so, oh mein Gott, es hat gebrannt, jetzt müssen meine Muskeln wachsen. Aber auch das könnt ihr euch vielleicht merken.
Man kann da schwere Variationen machen, ja safe. Weil es gibt schon noch 1, 2 Möglichkeiten, aber jetzt so zusammengefasst kann man das schon so sagen.
Brennen, weil sozusagen die Kraftausdauer des Muskels gefördert wurde. Das liegt übrigens auch alles die Forschung nahe. Also es gibt da aktuelle Studien auch aus 2021. Ich kann die euch mal in der Videobeschreibung verlinken. Ganz wichtig, wieder mal ein Einschub. Will ich damit sagen, dass Homeworkouts grundsätzlich Schwachsinn sind? Nein, will ich überhaupt nicht. Auf gar keinen Fall. Also gerade für Anfänger, ne, ist es super, wenn das Ziel einfach die Steigerung der Kondition ist, der Kraftausdauer, dann go for it. Ich will nur nicht, dass ihr denselben Fehler macht wie ich. Also ich habe mir lange gewünscht, meinen Körper durch Muskelmasse so ein bisschen besser in Form zu bringen. Und ich habe echt gedacht, wenn in einem Videotitel drin steht, set your butt on fire and make it grow, dass dann mein Po-Muskel wächst, wenn ich das nur oft genug mache. Aber das ist nicht unbedingt so. Damit der Po wirklich wächst, damit er sich verändert und zu so einem, ja, keine Ahnung, runden Po wird, muss man mit Gewichten trainieren. Das sieht man an Lisa Del Piero und ich gehe einfach mal ganz stark davon aus, also ich vermute es, dass Pamela Reif im Fitnessstudio auch mit Gewichten trainiert, um ihre Figur zu bekommen. Aber das ist jetzt erstmal eine Mutmaßung. Ich habe mich da nicht so genau mit ihr beschäftigt, ob sie das denn wirklich tut. Gerade zu diesem Pamela Booty Video gibt es auch eine sehr gute Analyse von Coach Steph. Das ist nämlich ein Fitness-YouTuber, der ist tatsächlich Physiotherapeut und langjähriger Trainer. Und der erklärt eben hier mit einem Kollegen, warum manche von Pamela gezeigte Übungen die komplett falsche Muskelgruppe treffen, wenn man seinen Po wachsen lassen will. Guckt euch das gerne mal an, vielleicht ist das so ein Aha-Moment für den einen oder anderen von euch. Des Weiteren will ich auch noch mal kurz anmerken, dass man sich auch bei Home-Workouts verletzen oder langfristig eben Sachen kaputt machen kann. Daher empfiehlt sich einfach generell nach Leuten Ausschau zu halten, die eben Erfahrung in diesem Bereich haben, vielleicht eine Ausbildung haben, also sei es eine Trainerlizenz, eine Physio-Ausbildung, Ernährungsberater, Ernährungswissenschaftler, Sportwissenschaftler und so weiter und so fort. Ne, ist natürlich nie eine Garantie, aber es ist natürlich ein Indiz dafür, dass es eben eher Hand und Fuß hat, was da gesagt wird. Eine ganz gute Faustregel, um das zu überprüfen, ist...
Vor allem aber bei sowas stelle ich mir auch die Frage, also macht das Pamela dann extra, dass sie einfach irgendwelche Übungen nimmt? Also, weiß nicht, wenn ich jetzt keinen Plan habe, so, und ich wäre Zeit, ich mache jetzt ein Fitnessvideo für euch und sage jetzt so, ja, keine Ahnung, 10 Minuten Bizeps-Workout, da würde ich mich doch aber trotzdem damit auseinandersetzen und halt Übungen raussuchen, die auch genau das trainieren, die irgendwo Sinn machen, oder nicht? Also ich meine, gut, bei ihr hat es halt geklappt, die hat trotzdem eine große Reichweite, aber es sind ja alles Sachen, die halt auch durchaus kritisiert werden und die natürlich auch theoretisch halt zu einem Image-Schaden führen könnten, ne?
Vielleicht folgendes Gedankenexperiment. Also, wenn ihr euch ein Fitness-Tutorial anguckt von einem Fitness-Influencer, wo ihr jetzt vielleicht wisst, das ist einfach nur ein Fitness-Influencer, der hat jetzt keine Ausbildung in diesem Bereich. Stellt euch einfach mal vor, würdet ihr dieses Tutorial auch nachmachen, wenn die Person, die es vormacht, nicht eurem körperlichen Ideal entspricht? Also würdet ihr die Übung dann vielleicht für schwachsinnig halten, weil ihr dann denkt, der hat ja keine gute Figur oder die hat ja keine gute Figur, es müssen Schwachsinnsübungen sein? Oder erscheinen die euch trotzdem logisch, weil der Influencer logisch erklären konnte, warum diese Übung jetzt sinnvoll ist und wie man sie auszuführen hat. Grundsätzlich gilt natürlich...
Boah, das ist echt eine gute Frage, ne? Also ich glaube schon, dass der Körper bei solchen Videos sehr wichtig ist, weil ja, man das als Zeichen wahrnimmt, dass das, was dort gezeigt wird, auch wirklich funktioniert. So wisst ihr, wie ich meine? So, ne, wenn dir jetzt einer, der irgendwie 200 Kilo wiegt, dir sagt, ja, du musst die Übung so machen, dann denkst du dir auch so, ja, Bro, hast du die Übung überhaupt schon mal gemacht? Na, da würde ich schon sagen, wahrscheinlich, dass wenn jetzt halt eine Person, die jetzt keinen krassen Buddy hat, da so Übungen macht, dass man da schon so ein bisschen zweifelhafter drauf guckt. Drachenlord Po-Burning. Geil. Und einer schreit hier noch, mit zweiter Person ins Gym zu gehen, ist nicht gut. Ich gehe lieber alleine oder alleine ist am besten. Ich weiß nicht. Ich finde, mit 2 Personen ist deutlich besser zu gehen. Also erstmal kann man sich halt gegenseitig motivieren. Ich gehe ja auch mit Teammates ins Fitnessstudio und man schafft auch mehr Gewicht. Also, ne, zum Beispiel, weiß nicht, bei Bankdrücken zum Beispiel, ne, ich kann halt mehr Gewicht nehmen, als ich eigentlich schaffen würde, bei zum Beispiel 8 Wiederholungen, weil ich halt weiß, ja, okay, da spottet mich einer. So, und selbst wenn ich nach 6 oder 7 nicht mehr kann, dann muss ich halt nicht aufhören, weil ich das Ding sonst nicht hochkriege, sondern der kann ja von unten dann halt mitdrücken, so, und mir dann halt helfen, so, ne, und ich finde halt zu zweit gehen auf jeden Fall deutlich entspannter. Plus, ich finde generell, die Motivation ist höher, wenn du wirklich noch einen Kollegen hast, man hat eine feste Zeit, so, dass du da wirklich hingehst, ne, weil für dich alleine kannst du auch absagen. So, ne, aber wenn noch eine zweite Person da ist, also klar, ich sag natürlich trotzdem ab, aber es tut im Herzen schon mehr weh auf jeden Fall.
Bewegung ist besser als nichts. Ich weiß, manche Leute wollen sich einfach nur zwischen Tür und Angel ein bisschen fit halten, 20 Minuten was machen. Manche haben keine Zeit, kein Geld und deswegen weiß ich auch, dass Pamela da in den letzten Jahren auch definitiv Teil der Lösung war. Einfach um das positiv am Ende nochmal zu sagen, die hat mit Sicherheit sehr vielen Leuten geholfen, sich zu Hause aktiv zu bewegen. Trotzdem, und das sollte dieses Video vermitteln, muss man auch bei diesen vermeintlich perfekten Vorbildern immer kritisch bleiben, denn trotzdem geht es im Hintergrund natürlich auch um Geld, natürlich auch um Profit. Und ich hoffe, das konnte ich so ein bisschen in diesem Video darstellen, um jetzt zu gemein zu sein. Und hoffentlich kann ich das auch in den nächsten Videos. Wenn ihr die nicht verpassen wollt, dann abonniert jetzt gerne.
Ja, gutes Video. Einer hat gesagt, bisschen trocken. Ja, also jetzt so kein Front, das sind halt... Ich finde so, Alicia Joes Videos kommen immer rüber wie so eine Bachelorarbeit irgendwie so, ne? Schon sehr sachlich, aber ich fand das Video sehr gut, also kam jetzt nicht wie 27 Minuten vor, aber mich interessiert das Thema auch, weil ich ja selber...
So are you walking back that I lied and you're saying now that I just like was hyperbolic?
No, I would call those lies. The devil is the father of lies, the prince of lies.
All right, well, I guess I should ask, is there any comment on that on your side, guys?
On what constitutes a lie, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there any other comments on that, or do you want to just continue on?
I don't think I have any comments on it.
All right.
You don't have any proof of me lying, Stephen? You want to go at it?
But I will say, if you take a lie as a fabrication, then you have not lied. I completely concede that.
Okay. All right, I was just making sure that we, got down to the meat of what the super chatter was.
I'm cleared of charges.
All right, excellent. Kyle James, thank you for your membership for 6 months. Awesome. You've been here almost as long as I have. $10. Ben, you and I both know that Steven Crowder wasn't abusive. He was a pansy little girl. If Steve was a real man like you, tell the audience how you would have properly dealt with his wife.
Yeah, that's interesting. If you say, like, so how should he have done it? I think he did a great job. I don't know. I think he should have been more suspicious that she was setting him up. But this is the problem with men. We're nice. We don't think that a woman, while we're working and building something for them, is trying to figure out and consulting with evil people like this Yashar Ali on how to destroy us. And they do that. And she, I think in this case, did do that. She set him up. She did that right in front of the camera. She timed it perfectly so she'd get alimony. And I think for a couple of years, she'd been cooking this whole thing up. And men generally don't think women are capable of that, and they are.
Well, I know, I think Erudite, this was kind of her point about like 9D chess, but that's not really possible that you'd think about that stuff. But women do check out of relationships way earlier than men check out of them, before they're actually over, because I think it's kind of natural, like, because women are contingent on men. Once you realize a relationship is coming to a close, the woman generally checks out of it earlier and looks for another support, whether it's a man or whatever. So I do think it's quite possible that she checked out and was actively, you know, whether super consciously or not, she was saying like, I see that this is over and I'm making plans for the future. I do think that's quite
there is some evidence of that, although I don't think he was accusing her of like being, what's the term? Of sexually infidelity. But when if you read it carefully, I mean, if you watch it carefully, you'll see he says the man that you see, the woman comes
we have
back.
no idea what was being said there. That's it's like inaudible.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Let's let Steven elaborate. We gave a bunch of time over to.
Well, I'm just saying that. There's a vague line like when mothers or men come back to their mothers or whatever. There's like a weird, but it's not captioned and it's really hard to hear their sayings. I don't think we can speculate on.
But it does say the man that you see, and then when she says, I'll just say another piece of evidence. I'm saying when she says, oh, should I call a friend to pick me up? I think there's an implication there because he reacts so strongly to it. Is that a threat? And I think she's basically, it's hard not to read it as her saying, so you want me to call whatever the guy's name is to come pick me up? And I doubt, you know, a pregnant woman, it's kind of inconceivable that she's going to be, someone in that state is going to be sexually, but still that there was a relationship that somehow connected with this Yashar Ali scumbag.
That could have literally just been, maybe she's talked shit to friends before about Steven Crowder. That could have been anything.
Yeah,
we
you
have
said
no
that.
idea. Yeah.
Right, but someone who he's like, I don't want you spending time with this person. Because maybe it's an emotional affair where this person is sort of fomenting her in her sort of victim mentality. You could see the narrative there, right? I mean, you can't dismiss that.
No, it's just it's a wide reach.
Yeah.
I wouldn't assume that's true. It could be. Maybe it's plausible. But I wouldn't just like outright make that assumption.
Well, there are things that don't add up here. Like, why would he say, I can't call my friends if you take the car? That doesn't make sense. But
maybe he means like call his friends to go over. They're just mad. He's just saying random shit. He could have misspoken literally.
Well, I can't be here. He said, I can't be here.
It could have been because of COVID. Maybe because of his surgery, he had to be like maximally isolated for a certain amount of time, so he couldn't like see friends or family. Like,
but
don't know.
It's just weird.
No
it's just
idea.
Weird. What I'm saying is, you can read it in this way.
You could read it one way to paint Hillary as this like nefarious actor who is plotting 2 years in advance.
Yeah.
I don't really know what you mean, Grace, with like women check out first. I don't know if you're talking about like how women initiate divorces first. I'm not really sure what you're citing there as like women always check out of relationships or consistently check out of relationships first. I'm not really sure where that's coming from.
I think it's generally true because women are contingent on men for, like, generally for financial support, that if they realize a relationship is going downhill or if they intend to end the relationship, they emotionally check out earlier so that they can emotionally and whatever else support, like connect with somebody else to be their support. So that's why I would say when she's talking with him, at that point that it had gotten to that point, so he's still emotionally invested, whereas she's kind of like, you can see she's cold to a level where she doesn't even really get riled up. She's just like wants to get out of there, right? She's checked out. That's the point I was making. I think it's possible that she could have been in that place.
Yeah, I think that's true. Look for Plan B. She's
Possibly,
look for Plan B.
Like she was calm and highly submissive. I don't know if I would agree that she was like clearly checked out. She was avoidant. She was trying to get away, but I don't know if I would be like, you can tell that she was just like emotionally disengaged from the situation. I would say that that's like definitely not true. There's like definitely times where you hear her kind of like pleading and stuff like that, that it seems like she's like pretty emotionally connected to the situation. She's just maybe at worst highly avoidant and wants to get away from the situation.
The problem is we have no idea how these two normally resolve conflict, so you have no idea how to read that. If you saw me acting that way in a fight, I could still be totally plugged in. If Melina was acting that way in a fight, she's probably 1 foot out the door, because Melina tends to be more emotional in fights and I tend to be more like I'll zone out or I'll be avoidant. So you have no idea in looking at like a person's reactions, like if they've completely checked out or not, because we don't know how they normally resolve conflict. So I don't think it's fair to say like she's ready to run. No, you can't guess. You truly don't know. You have no idea.
Well, you guys felt free to guess, and Kyla called Steven Crowder a piece of shit.
Because some of the behavior that he's exhibiting is clearly abusive behavior.
No, it isn't clearly. No, it isn't.
All right.
You already conceded that we won the debate, so why we
true.
go
My bad.
rehash it?
My bad.
We forgot.
I forgot about that.
Several L's. We've got several W's over here. I'm sorry, guys.
Without any direct declaration from either side, let's continue on with our super chats because we got lots of them. Keep them coming in. I mean, nobody has said anything about having to go yet, so I mean, everybody seems to be having a good time. You can let me know. Yeah, all right. We'll continue on as we are. Psychor for $10. You guys are all misunderstood. They're not talking about abuse. They're talking about Crowder's abuse. When he's using his abs to persuade his wife, biggest misunderstanding on modern day debate. Psychor.
Best.
Well, let's continue on from there.
No comprendo.
Yeah, all right. He's making jokes. It's fine. Brian Stevens, $2. Thank you so much. Sometimes it is warranted. Horrific. So when he says sometimes it is warranted, he's talking about violence. So I think he's quoting something that you said yep. So I think you got some thoughts there, Ben?
Yes. I know that people said a man should never lay his hands on a woman, right? Now, would Steven and Kyla both agree with that?
No, because now you're going to say, what if a woman is trying to murder all 70 of her children, or a woman is running on her way to push the button to fire the nukes to Russia? In that case, you should probably kill a bitch, okay?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, I won't make that mistake again. Don't worry, I
Or
won't take
she's
any more
physically
L's.
assaulting other people.
Yes, Steven, if you're in a debate, maybe you shouldn't use terms like always and never.
True,
so
absolutely, because you might be debating the most
cavalierly.
pedantic motherfucker on earth. Don't make that mistake. I got it. Don't worry, I'm here. I'm here for you.
These are tips for you, Steven.
Steven,
Write them
we
down.
don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. You know, you guys have like difficulties with emotions. If I compliment Kyla, she says I'm a scumbag. If I correct her because she's been lying, she acts like a victim, and she goes, "Oh, I guess I've been exonerated." Why don't you learn how to behave like a mature person?
You saying we guys, and then everything you said is targeted against me. It sounds like this is just between me and you.
Well, Steven does his little thing like, "Oh, whatever you need from me."
Oh, sorry.
Let's try to
now Steven's catching the strays.
Make our comments towards our other speakers who have respectfully chosen to be here tonight.
I appreciate that. They've given us a
chat,
great opportunity.
Going back to the point,
in the live chat as well, and the speakers on the panel, we're going to do our best to keep our discussion about is Steve Crowder innocent, and that's what we've been talking about. So let's continue on with our super chats. I'm trying to copy and paste here as I go, everybody, so bear with me. Alan for $20. There's 4 layers. All right, you can all hear me. That's good. Alan, $20. There's 4 layers. What is said, what they mean, subtext, and context. A person can say, "I don't love you," and it can sound like an attack or a genuine expression. I feel like this argument keeps jumping between those 4 layers. And to specify the 4 layers that Alan put in his $20 super chat, this is a $20 super chat, so we'll give it some attention here. 4 layers is what is said, what they meant, subtext, and context. Let's kick it over to Steven to start.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I guess it's hard. I can't tell with our interlocutors here, like how much of this needs to be explicitly laid out, because it seems like they want to dance between a lot of these different types of subtexts. Like if you're in therapy with a significant other and you're trying to work through problems and you're like, "Listen, I don't know if I love you anymore," that's a lot different than being in the middle of an argument where like, "I don't love you anymore," which is also a lot different than being in a serious discussion outside of therapy and be like, "I don't think I love you anymore." All of these things are completely different. But in the context that it's being said with Crowder and his wife, it's not being said in a way to genuinely convey an emotion. It's not being said in a way to resolve conflict or anything. It's being said as an aggressive point of attack to try to trigger the other party because they're just looking to attack each other. Or at the very least, Steven Crowder's looking to attack Hillary Crowder.
I totally disagree with that. She goes, I love you, I'm committed to you. He goes, I don't love you. That's the big problem. You've never shown me love. You just, I don't exactly remember, but he says something like, you just say you love me, but you don't show it.
You don't do A, B, C, and D.
How is that him trying to, like, I think when we say you missed trying to hurt somebody, violence, right? How is that trying to hurt her? He's pointing out an issue in their relationship. He says that's the big problem. He's literally trying to solve a problem. I don't see how you could possibly say that's like a pointed attack to hurt her.
Wow. So if I'm in a big fight with Nick, right, and Nick says, Kyla, I still love you, and I go, I don't love you, and I've never experienced love from you, do you think that that's gonna like feel good, or do you think that might be like super hurtful for him?
Who cares what feels like? What if it's true?
Well, she was literally just talking about harm.
Yeah.
She was just talking about harm, which is about like feelings, right?
Well, can I ask you a question?
Loser.
Well, yeah, your feelings aren't the most important thing, Kyla.
Well, if you say something purposefully to hurt somebody's feelings, that's I would say that's wrong to do. But if you say something that's true that ends up hurting somebody's feelings because they don't want to, it's a hard reality, that doesn't make it abusive.
In that situation, did Steven Crowder sound like he was trying to communicate an uncomfortable truth that they needed to work through?
Yes, he did. Absolutely, he did. He didn't raise his voice. I mean,
still don't understand that if you guys think this, because you guys want to do this, if you want to think this, that's fine. But then why are you mad at Hillary for leaving? Why would you stay with somebody that doesn't love you anymore?
No,
because she needed to make sense of her situation.
Stop. I need you to answer that question. Why should she have stayed there? Why are you upset that she left?
I did answer it.
How is her she made sense of this situation? He said he didn't love her, so she left. Isn't that what she should do?
She needs to make. There's a little more to it.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
What? He doesn't love her anymore. She should just leave.
Well, he's saying, okay, so is this abusive to say to someone, you say you love me, but your actions
We're not talking about that right now.
Oh, yes, we are.
No, we're not. He said, I don't love you anymore. So she should be like, okay,
and
cool.
then he said, wait, then he clarified it by saying, you say you love me, and I ask you to do A, B, C, and D, and you don't do any of them. I think that is a perfectly philosophically astute point. If love does not manifest itself in action, but you just keep saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, that is not love, that is manipulation.
Sure, but why would you do
anything? For someone to point that out is perfectly fine.
Sure, but why do anything for somebody that doesn't love you anymore? You should just leave. At that point, it's over. What is he going to try?
He's saying there's a major crisis here.
No, no. That's not a crisis. That's the relationship is over. I don't love you anymore. Oh, okay, fine. Then we're done. No. Divorced him.
You think relationships are, I mean, I don't know exactly what he meant by that. I don't feel love towards you, I think is what he meant. That's not the same thing as love.
Oh, okay. So now we're getting hyper subtextualizing everything. Okay.
Well, yeah, because if you define love as like
Steven,
wanting the best,
it's called interpretation. It's what we're doing.
If you say love is wanting the best for somebody else, I don't think he's saying I don't want the best for you. But if you interpret love as like I feel connected towards you and like we're working together.
Just so it's clear, we're not talking about what happened between Steven Crowder anymore. We're just like
I don't know what we're even
up stuff.
talking
We're just
about.
making up
I
shit
wouldn't have a problem
about,
if he said, I hate
love
you, Hillary.
Maybe
I
mean in
hate
different
you.
contexts.
I wouldn't have a problem with him saying, I hate you for what you are doing.
I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm gonna be totally honest. I hate you is probably a less hurtful statement to a partner than saying I don't love you.
Well, you know what really sucks is someone saying I love you while they're preparing to destroy you. And I think that's what was going on there.
Okay.
Wasn't he talking
and
to the
playing
voice
to a
lawyers
camera.
first?
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
Let's continue on with our super chat. All right, so let's scroll up. Brutally honest. That's kind of a personal attack. €2. Thanks for your donation. That's great.
Wait, who is that a personal attack on?
Towards Ben, and we're not going to read it. 3,000 GTV R4. $5. What are Grace and Ben's opinions on inter-family relationships and the implication of that power dynamic? That's a strange question.
Inter-family? That would mean between families. Intra-family would be within.
I was going to say, if you want to just skip this one.
I'm sure they're meaning within families.
I think, yeah, they're asking what your opinion is on inter-family relationships, so...
That would be between families. I don't know what that means. Intra-family?
I'm sure that's what they're talking about. Yes, they're probably not being pedantic about words. They're probably
I think
so. They're using words inaccurately, and then that's abusive also.
They're being very naughty by using words inaccurately. Yes, that's true.
I think what they're implying.
It's called the English language. You should respect it.
We can just skip this one because I think once again we're going into.
But I wouldn't know what it would mean. Intro. What are you talking about?
I would say what I think.
What is power dynamics really? Like,
I think what the host is trying to say is it sounds like they're making an incest joke. That's what it sounds like they're saying.
I will just say yes. That is what it sounds like they are trying to imply there. So we could just skip that because I don't think that's relevant.
No, we can't skip that. F you for saying that. Whoever said that. And well, people for not pushing back.
Hold
on
on. We're not going to. We're just going to move past it. Thank you. Sidecore, $10. You guys are all misunderstood. They're not talking about abuse. They're talking about Crowder's abuse. We already read that. Let's move on. I might have copy and pasted that once or twice because I'm trying to keep an eye on this live chat because you guys keep putting more in there and I got to keep copy and pasting them before I lose them because they escape me if I don't. All right. Kellyanne for $20. I have been married for 20 plus years and have never yelled at my wife or called her a name in disagreement. We have a fantastic relationship and screw like teenagers. Thorpe's our relationship. Yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of that, but they're basically saying they've got a great relationship and they don't think that you're representing relationships well. So you can comment on that.
That's cap. You've been married for 20 years and you've never yelled at your wife. That's not possible.
I think it's possible.
You've never raised your voice at the woman that you share your life with.
There are plenty of people that have relationships like that. There are tons of people that have totally boring and healthy relationships like that. Absolutely. And there are a lot of people that yell and have problems too. Just depends on the dynamic. Yeah,
there's different personality types. It's possible, but I doubt it.
Do you never yell at your? I would ask him. Have you ever yelled at your kids either, or that's also you've never yelled at your kids because everybody yells at their kids.
There's lots of families that
different
just like yelling doesn't
styles. There's different cultures. There's different cultures.
Okay.
Remember, Grace, we used to go and see at the beach. We used to see sometimes the Guatemalan families. They just seemed very placid. They didn't seem.
Yeah, but sometimes they yell at their kids. Well, whatever.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure they didn't mean that literally, but.
All right, let's continue on. €5 from I. That's a great Black Sabbath tune, by the way. It's very hard to find, but if you just type in the letter I and Black Sabbath, great song. All right, can the Pro Crowder team answer if they think Hillary is abusive in the clip and give a specific example?
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say to me, she seems disengaged. She lies to him. She says she's committed to him, which is just a way of making herself look better and driving him crazy by not responding to the genuine problems he's pointing out by just saying pious phrases to make him feel like he's the bad guy and he's yelling at her when she wasn't committed, divorced him a couple months later. And I don't think she's necessarily recognizing what she's doing, but I would say it is abusive.
She never responded to anything that he said.
Yeah.
And then she accused him of abusing. How is he going to respond when she accuses of him? Steven, this is abusive. What are you supposed to say at that point? What can a man possibly say?
So she disengaged, lied to him, accused him of abuse, and that's like clear evidence. Do you guys feel like it's clear, or like how confident are you in this like percentage? I'm just not sure. And I'm not asking that condescending. I just don't know how strongly you think that she abused him.
100%.
Bam. Shut down.
Okay. Grace,
abusive in the sense that you're yes, that in the sense that I don't think she's intentionally trying to harm him. Well, actually, I mean, I guess I actually do because she was aware of the camera. So, I'm trying to be generous, but like I do believe she was aware of that camera and saved that clip. So if you look at it through that perspective, then yes, it's abusive.
So
trying to wind your husband up.
Being abusive?
Yes, in some ways, yes.
You just changed it. You said 100%. How sure are you that this was abusive? Now you're saying she's 100% abusive.
No, not she. She was being abusive, 100%. Was all of her activity 100% abuse? No.
Right. You believe
that's the clarification.
You believe that she was being abusive 100%. So like being disengaged, lying, and accusing him of abuse is enough. It's sufficient for her to be abusing him, but him like saying I'll fuck you up, I don't love you, and like being uncompromising isn't him being abuse. I'm not really understanding these two
The
lines.
answer to the question is yes. Right. Yes.
Within the context of her sitting there framing him, driving him crazy to make him look bad, and disengaging herself personally, and then using that clip against him 2 years later, yes, it's abusive.
Damn.
Okay, but him like being pressuring or like moving his body in ways where she's feeling physically coerced, or like being unwilling to compromise with her on anything, saying things like, I don't love you and you never show me any love, trying to pressure her to stay home when she wants to leave, not really being okay with her leaving, those things.
Right.
Clearly.
Those are not abusive.
Not
Right.
abusive.
Is there
That's
any
correct.
example? Can we think
Obviously.
of an example of a man being abusive where he's not hitting the person?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you give me an example? I'm just curious.
Taking out your anger at somebody for something they didn't do, somebody else did to you. Like lashing out at them to take your anger out, something
So
like
as
that.
long
I mean,
as-
there's obviously a bunch of examples.
So as long as the thing you're complaining about actually happened, you have carte blanche to express that any way you want, as long as you don't hit the person?
You mean having a disproportionate reaction? Yeah, sure, that's true. I told my son once I was in a stressful situation. He got a yo-yo from Toys R Us when it still existed, and it broke. And I told him to throw it out and throw himself out while he was at it. That's abusive, definitely. I apologize to him.
Why would that be abusive?
5 minutes later. Because I was just frustrated by the situation, and there was a lot of chaos. And I just bought him a nice yo-yo, and so I had my. It wouldn't have been wrong for me to say, like, why'd you break it? So, what happened? But, I was abused. So, sure. So we answered your question, but you guys never answered our question. Another win for the Thorpes. It's been a 100% win on this
W after
side.
W after W.
Yeah.
It feels
Hard
like you
to
guys have
argue
like
with.
basically Darvoed. Like I feel like actual Darvo. You're just Darvoing for Crowder in this case.
I don't know what Darvo is.
Well,
Deny,
we're gonna
accuse, reverse.
So we're abusing you now?
We're
No,
gonna take a side
That's
step.
not what I said.
So
We're
we
taking
have
a-
Stockholm syndrome from
No,
Stephen
I said you're
Crowder?
Darvoing for Crowder.
We're gonna
I
take a
don't know.
side step and keep on point here. So Doey Head, $5. Thank you so much for your super chat. Why does every conservative talking point can simplify to conspiracy? I think that's towards Grace and Ben there.
Well, I'm not a
Even-
conservative, so I don't know.
Well, but I mean, yeah, me neither. But like, even if you say, okay, she wasn't conspiring to do this, even if you just look at it, just the video itself, I honestly see a man who's frustrated trying to communicate an issue he has with his wife, and his wife not responding to any of his questions, not getting emotionally invested, but just kind of saying, repeating his name and asserting that she's going to leave. And I would say, that you don't have to necessarily say that she conspired to say that at the very least he's not being abusive by bringing up an issue in their relationship. That's not abusive.
Like, there was a point made about this. Like, you guys know Fresh and Fit.
Yeah.
They took the most extreme take on this. We do not represent the most extreme take on this, because they're like red pillars, and I think they're just anti-female in some ways, but it's subtle. But they made a big deal about the edits and how she worked the edits. She didn't work the edits. I know there was a guy on your stream who saw that. It was just a clip. She didn't work, she didn't, that would be a conspiracy theory that was disproven. Right, we all agree that it had to do with the Ring video having a motion sensor.
Yeah, the security camera. Yeah.
So that seems like, because it was at exactly 30 seconds, you had your guy do it, and so.
All right. Well, let's continue on from there, and I will remind everybody in the super chat, there's 900 of you watching, and there's still only slightly shy of 400 likes. So, well, I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know if you're disliking this, but surely you agree with somebody here. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you like that Black Sabbath tune. I don't know. But surely you agree with somebody. So smash that like button and share this out to your contentious spaces so we can keep the conversation rolling. All right, Jerome Bentley for $10. Is the physical violence necessary in a marriage? Are there times where you must hit your wife outside of self-defense from physical violence, like the times you hit mom and broke her glasses?
This is a fake account. That's supposed to be my son.
Yeah. Let's just respond to the first point. Is physical violence necessary?
Respond to it.
marriage. Let's just cap it at that.
I would say, yeah, absolutely, it could be. What if somebody had implanted a bomb in your wife's arm and the bomb was about to explode and you had to smack her arm to like disarm the detonator? I would say that in that sense, you should probably use physical violence. Was that a good response, Ben?
Well, okay, I know you're trying to play a little trick with me. There are times when a man can give a woman a smack across the face because she's losing her mind, and it can reset her in a way that she needs to be reset. If there's an emergency she needs to deal with. If there's a plane about to crash into a mountain.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
The
save
plane and
you.
the mountain.
He
Okay.
needs
Wake
to
up!
fucking get herself
You gotta
together.
fly the plane, woman.
You're the only one like a
capable of
pilot.
doing
Yes.
it.
Well, do you agree with that?
Yeah, maybe she
There
used to
can
be
be
a
an
pilot,
emergency in
but she
which
got
she's
into a
panicking
helicopter
and she needs-
accident 20 years ago,
She's
and she's
amnesiac.
not. Yeah, she didn't remember
amnesiac.
how, and she's like, I don't think I can do it, and he's like, wake up, Jane. You're the only
But her
one. that
name
can
used to be
fly this-
Jenny.
Yeah, you're the only one that can
And she'll
fly
only,
this plane.
yeah, true.
So you
And she'll
agree with
only
me?
remember
Another
that
W
she was a
over here.
pilot. if you
Another
hit her.
You
W.
agree with me?
Yes.
Another W over here.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So let's not say a man can never put his hands on a woman, and a father can never put his hands on his children in violence, because that's not true. And it's stupid to say things like that.
True. There's a lot of planes out there that need pilots.
Stephen, why don't we engage sincerely instead of being snarky? Okay?
Because you're
I
giving
haven't
me
made comments
literally
about
the
your hair.
funny, the
I haven't made
dumbest-
comments about you wearing a
because
t-shirt
when
to a
somebody
debate.
asks you to
Alright,
slap
let's
a
just be
woman, they're
fair.
not saying, is it so she can pilot
Let's-
a plane? In the course of normal day-to-day life, well, you should force an answer. I want to hear an answer from that. Does he really think it's okay to smack a woman if she's not acting right?
I
think there are
interject.
times when it is appropriate,
The
yes.
question. I appreciate the question, but I will say that everybody's been a little snarky tonight. But I think Ben just said that he thinks that it's appropriate in some cases. So I'll let him elaborate on that, and we'll kick it back to you, Stephen.
Yes,
you
there are
elaborate
times
any-
like that. They should be minimized, but there are times like that, and they're not as infrequent as we'd like to say. Now,
Are there
do you want me
situations
to say
outside of
something
plane
illegal?
crashing that
I
you
just
would
gave
think
you an
of?
example. Let's say there's a situation where, like, children need to be, taken care of in a certain way, and a woman's just freaking out, and she needs. Well, yeah, I would call it a physical correction.
I can't think of a time where I'm like, Mom, like, help your kids. My brain, I can't think.
Well,
of
you
any.
realize you're putting me in a difficult situation because you're telling me to advocate for something which is against the law.
If
So,
you think
okay,
it's-
so you want to play games? We'll play games.
Okay,
The
if
answer
you think
is
it's
yes.
a difficult situation to be asked if you should hit a woman, I mean, that says more about your position than mine. But all right.
Well, everybody
because,
could. I mean,
because
it's
I'm
not
not going
just
to advocate for
Here's
illegal
one.
activity. But
Here's
we
the
all know
only
yes. The answer
situation
is yes.
theoretically I can
Erudite-
think of. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
let's
try to
let
be good
Erudite
faith.
finish up this point, and we'll move on.
Say there's an intruder in your home.
No, oh come on. Don't even entertain this. This is so dumb, right? That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is if your wife is acting like a bitch, smack her across the face till you wake her up. That's what he's essentially saying, okay? Which is a fine position to have. Listen, okay, I'm pro hitting women sometimes too, so based, all right? Another W for the Thorpes.
Thank you,
All right.
Steven.
All right, let's just move on.
Sometimes they just need a little reset.
Harkness loves you. $10. Question for everyone: if a family was running a restaurant and a parent, like a mother, yelled at her child for messing up food prep, that's not abuse, right? She's driving her employee hard, right?
Well, when it's an inside.
These are all
whatever.
trolls. That's trolls.
Yeah.
Whatever. Take their money and
It's different
whatever.
to whatever with a child than an employee, but whatever. Stupid.
Yes, it could be appropriate and it could be not appropriate.
All right.
Would you guys, if I could throw this over to Stephen and Kyla, do you respect a father or a boss who holds his kids to high standards and holds them to the same heights, him or
what
her?
none of the conversation has at all.
Okay,
tonight
I'm
been
just
about that.
asking, Stephen.
I'm not
You don't
answering.
have to
I'm not
feel like
answering because we're not
everything's a
talking about
personal
holding
insult.
anybody to a high standard. It's not a personal insult. No one is talking about holding anybody to a high standard. We're talking
I'm
about
just-
issuing
I'm just
physical
curious.
corrections to partners.
I'm just curious.
We can have a separate conversation about, or Kyla can have a conversation. It's okay. I'm not here to talk. I don't know what that question has anything to do with. It doesn't resemble anything about any of these
Well,
conversations.
a lot of times a demanding boss or a demanding parent can be a good thing.
Demanding
So-
doesn't mean attacking somebody. That's the
Also-
opposite of a good
verbally,
leader.
how
Also,
are you
just to be
demanding
clear-
except by demanding, verbally?
Authoritarian parents are like very well established to be highly harmful to, they're not even talking about smacking their parents, having really, really, really high standards that are really rigid and you hold people to them tends to crush people. It's pretty awful. Yeah,
I agree.
So
but that doesn't mean you have to have no standards.
Obviously, I would never agree that a boss or a parent needs to hit their child to get them to meet expectations. And even outside of that, even the framework you're giving, empirically we know that authoritative parents are awful for children. They're
I agree
not
with
good
you.
for flourishing. So,
but that doesn't mean you can't hold high standards.
We should all hold high standards for everybody. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. So I don't even know what the point of the
Well, she
question
assumed because I didn't say authoritarian.
I didn't assume
I didn't
anything.
say, do you endorse an authoritarian parenting style? I said, do you think that it can be a healthy parent who holds his kids to high standards and also especially in employment where it's voluntary? If you're getting paid well, you should, belly up. I think there are
I think more of the
styles.
time, it's probably not that healthy.
Yeah.
Based on the way that you're framing it.
Okay.
All right, let's continue on. Thank you everybody for your super chats. If you want to keep them coming in, we've been going for 3 hours, but we're continuing on. We're having a good discussion as far as I'm concerned. We're keeping it as chill as we can, given the nature of this discussion. So, Mohammed for 550 Canadian. We're gonna skip that one. That's for Destiny. You might have seen it in the super chat, but we're just gonna skip it.
Wait, what's it about?
Not relevant. It's not relevant.
Why, was it like an insult that you think I can't handle, or was it about something totally unrelated?
All right. Well, then I'll you know what? I'll read it, but I'm gonna give it the attention it deserves. Okay. She is a pregnant you Smurf. Regardless, Crowder is a better human than you, and that's an insult.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
There you go. I'm sorry, Mohammed. That wasn't a very respectful comment. I didn't want to read it, so we're going to move on. Stay curious, $5. Grace, do you believe anger is always justified regardless of if the other person doesn't understand how and what they did affected you?
Of course not. You can be wrong to be angry at somebody, either because of a misunderstanding or because you're taking something out on them. Obviously, right? We all know that. Or if they don't understand what they did to make you angry, that doesn't... You can't just lash out at them. I mean, does anybody disagree with that? It's obvious, right?
I think we all agree with that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's continue on. Let's move on from there. Once again, try to keep our super chats related to the topic and not attacks against our speakers, but rather the things that they've said. Grace, do you believe, and this is from Stay Curious for $5, Grace, do you believe anger is always justified regardless of if the other person doesn't understand? Oh, I already read that.
Yeah, we just...
Let's move on. Yeah. Giving it far too much
I thought I was losing my mind there for a second.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gave it far too much drama for what it's worth. I'm trying to get rid of them as they come because I got far too many on this this notepad right now. You'll notch 517, 499 for each panelist to answer. What is your definition of emotional intelligence? So emotional intelligence, we're gonna try to keep this quick. Grace, I'm gonna hand it to you for 30 seconds.
I would say emotional intelligence is understanding and being able to control your emotions to a certain degree, but also knowing when it's appropriate to express your emotions and not lashing out at people and not bottling things up.
All right. Well, that was less than 30 seconds. We'll hand it over to you, Stephen.
I would say it's understanding your emotions and being able to understand other people's emotions. So having some level of self-control and then being able to interface and communicate with others.
All right, over to you, Ben. Emotional intelligence, what's that?
Yeah, yes, the same. Just being able to see your emotions in the light of reason and prudence, and then to exercise wisdom.
All right, and to close this out, not so erudite. Emotional intelligence.
I think everyone summed it fine enough. Yeah, okay. I concur.
All right, let's continue on then. All right, good meme, new member, $25 Canadian. Question, when Grace was experiencing uncertain feelings with her dad, she went to her Discord maybe to bring it up. I don't know what that's all about. There's an extra part to that. It's kind of a personal question. Do you want me to continue?
I mean, sure, go ahead.
Why did she take a step back to evaluate instead of talking to her father directly? Why is a space there okay? Or why is space okay there? Sorry, on the channel.
Well, sometimes, you know, me and my dad have a relationship. We do a lot of YouTube stuff together. Sometimes things get tense between us, and sometimes it's best to take a break and get some space and think about other things, or ask other people to help you if you're, in a tense situation.
I would say that the
bit.
position that we are holding is not that a break is never a good idea. That would be a straw man.
Right. But I certainly would hope that I wouldn't use taking space as a power move to say, like, I'm leaving and I'll be back when I'm back, because I actually do help around the house with my siblings and stuff since my mom isn't here, so that would be a power move. So I don't think doing stuff like that is okay, but taking space is fine. Yeah.
All right. Let's continue on with our super chat then. Mr. Cool Dude. Mr. Cool Dude, you're very cool. 203 as well. All right, so $10. Ben seems to want to talk about Kyla way more than Crowder. I think they're bringing up the discussion from the other day, so we should move on from that just because we've majoritively tried to ignore that whole discussion. But
I think Kyla and I are friends. I don't
know if I would say that. That's
well, I'd like for us to be friends, but you accuse me of stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
because you lack maturity. It's fine. We'll work on it.
Frenemies? Can we call it that? Frenemies?
No, I think we're like acquaintances in the same space.
Well, we have a little bit of chemistry, and I'm not suggesting anything beyond just that.
I think it is definitely nerve-wracking to be around a pretty young lady in the same panel, for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I'm kidding. All right. Let's continue on. All right, Griffin, $5. Do you think being chronically divorced gives you bad opinions? Or is that inconsequential to your takes? I'm not sure who that's for, honestly.
Yeah, I would think people who've been divorced many times would not be the person you're going to turn to for advice, but they also can have a lot of wisdom if they've learned from those things. So obviously you don't go to a homeless person and ask for stock advice.
All right. Well, let's move on from there. All right, let me turn my mic back on because I had a vicious cough just now. That almost went down the wrong tube. All right, well, let's see. $5 from Straight Shot to the panel. Who does Zelda go to if Hyrule is in trouble? TOTK, 4 days and wake up, boy. All right, let's continue on. IG Burr, $5. Ben, if your wife was singing karaoke and went home, with him, what would you do?
Yeah, that's another personal troll.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like a troll comment. I was gonna say any of these comments they don't seem like they make sense. We're just gonna move on. I'm so sorry. I appreciate you guys putting in the super chats. That's awesome. You can continue putting in super chats. But if they're going to be just trolly comments, we're going to just move on. So Sausage Lord, $1.99. Welcome to the Orbiters Club, Ben and Grace. I'm not sure what that means either.
Weird.
I think it's a reference to Destiny.
There's a contract coming. They get workers' comp.
Okay.
So far we have 0 from it.
All right. Well, let's just hope.
Bad boss. Bad power dynamics, really.
Mr. Cool Dude, where are my shades? I'm so sorry. 203, $10. How is it personal to ask why Ben keeps quipping at Kyla?
Damn.
It relates to the current debate.
I'm sorry. I'm a heterosexual man. I'm sorry. Guilty again.
All right, let's just leave it.
I'll compliment Destiny. I love your blue hair. You seem like a sweetheart.
Thanks.
Can anyone compliment me, for fuck's sake?
Ryan, you seem like a terrific guy. I really love you.
I'm not supposed to swear. Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble.
I think Grace is doing a great job.
All right, let's continue on. All right, so how is it personal to ask why? No. Mark, $5. Hey, Mark. She might be a manipulative a-hole for all we know. So might he. This debate is void of details unless you have Crowders in the room. Do you guys think that's true?
To some extent, we're all speculating. Yep.
Yeah, I think that both, although I know I'll be seen as a scumbag for saying this, I think that both Stephen, Bunnell here and Kyla have been really good about saying that there's just a lot here that's speculation, and there's a way in which this can be, these are real people with real lives, and we should at least be aware that we're missing a lot of context. But I do think you can take guesses.
All right, well, let's continue on, and we just copied and pasted another super chat that was way too big and it messed up my whole note, so let me just minimize that. Timothy P. Southwick, $20. So we're gonna give this a little bit of attention. It's a big super chat. What business is it of any of y'all's? I feel like he's from somewhere that I live now. He's saying y'all all the time. What do they matter, y'all, personally, that you sit here saying whatever regarding them? You said that twice, so I'm going to read this again at the end of this because this is a little confusing and I want to surmise. Are y'all personally involved in their situation to be saying anything? So what business is it of any of y'all's? What do they matter to y'all personally that you sit here saying whatever regarding them? Are y'all personally involved in their situation to be saying anything?
I mean, they're public figures on the internet, and now this issue has been made highly public, so of course people are going to have opinions about it, right? That's kind of how it goes, yeah?
I think especially when an issue, we all, not all of us, but many of us have spouses, and so you can see, it's like Dr. Phil. Can it be helpful sometimes to see a dynamic that Dr. Phil is analyzing? Yeah, it can be. I think that Steven Crowder's impetus was not to do this, and his wife made it public. Should everyone continue to respect his wishes? I don't think that's possible at that point, and everyone knows it. And it can be fruitful. I think we've had a fruitful discussion. I think you guys have. Do you guys feel like your time spent with this makes you feel dirty? I think it's okay.
No, because I feel like we're treating him more like like the situation more like a model. We're not really saying these people. We're just saying kind of they're representing a dynamic that we're analyzing to see whether it's abusive or not. We're not really making moral judgments on these people themselves, because obviously we don't really know.
Yeah, I think so.
Any thoughts, Destiny or Eric?
Yeah, this is a conduit to explore what we think are healthy or unhealthy dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody? Any thoughts?
Sure.
No? All right, let's continue on then. I won't put you on the spot like that. Let's scroll on up, and if I have to keep scrolling up, I'll have to keep making noises. David Drew, $10. Ben, do you know the difference between BDSM and spousal abuse in the form of domestic violence? Ooh, we're gonna have to put it on. We're gonna put it on PG-14 plus here for this one. Ben, do you know the difference between BDSM and spousal abuse in the form of domestic violence? And to you, Ben.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, let's leave it at that then. That sounds about good to me. We won't get any more into depth. Justin Mead, $5. I just got here. What's the issue and who are the panel? Well, Justin Mead, we are discussing whether Steven Crowder is innocent in this most recent video of him having a discussion with his wife out on the patio. So, I got into the mic a little extra for the proximity effect. But that's what we're discussing tonight. And that's my super chat. So I'm going to back away and we're going to keep going. Accelerati, $2. Destiny and his sister, Erudite, did well tonight. So you guys have a fan. Thank you so much for that. Toxin_AV, $4. UN Geneva tweeted incest in peace yesterday. I'm not sure if that's relevant to what we're talking about, so sorry, but we're going to continue on. Jay for $4.99. Earlier, when Ben went on his schizophrenic rant about women, I don't like reading those types of comments, but earlier when Ben went on his rant about women that like being abused, can he clarify if he was talking about his wife or his daughter?
No.
All right, let's continue on. Brian Stevens for $5. Okay, I'll read it. It's a little spicy. I think it's towards the comment that you made earlier there, Ben. But I'm going to give you the floor to explain to Brian here what you meant. He said, "This is disgusting behavior. A woman is freaking out, in quotations, and you physically correct. There are times when you should slap your wife? You sicken me." I put the emphasis on there to show that there's a question mark. So I'll let you explain, Ben.
You know, it's interesting. Sean Connery died recently, and he was old school, but I think we could all say that he was obviously seen by women as one of the most attractive men to ever walk the face of the earth. And he was pretty open, and it was partly cultural, that about this, you know, that there are times when that is those things are fine, and women do generally understand that to be true. Yes, I don't know. There is something about that. Steven admitted it himself, right? And he's
no, I did not say that ever. I have never said that. That is not true.
Yeah, you did.
I did not say that women ever like, or there's something about a guy that hits a woman that women are enjoying. I've never said that.
You said, yes, you did. You said, I get it.
I said I understand why women like people that can be physically violent or physically assertive, to have the capability to do that. That's a lot different than hitting a woman or hitting women.
Well, okay, so you don't think there are any women who, in certain contexts,
that in certain contexts is doing some really heavy lifting there. In certain contexts, in like consensual bedroom related BDSM things, maybe, but that's a lot different than somebody that is issuing a correction to a woman. No, I don't think.
Well, we all know that's not true, so whatever.
Okay, well that's fine. Just don't say. I just don't want to be taken as somebody that thinks that you should hit women.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, but so there's one thing about saying like I won't say this because it's going to get me in trouble, and there's another thing of saying like I actually believe this, and so. Right, there are things you can't say.
You've made a lot of references to my platform, so I know that you know who I am. So I don't know why you would ever accuse me of not saying something, because I think it'll get me in trouble.
Well, I didn't say that.
That was heavily implied by saying, I know there are things you can't say. I can say whatever I want. I'm on kick.tv. Okay?
No, you
we can start
can't say whatever you want.
What do you mean I can't? What do you think I couldn't say if I believed it?
Well, you couldn't advocate for the overthrow of the United States.
I'm pretty sure I can. What do you mean? You didn't even choose a good example.
Okay, try it on your stream.
Wow, we should overthrow the United States. Who wants to do January 6th next year? What do you mean?
Yeah, well, Steven, I mean, obviously, if you say it like that, you're clean, but I'm not going to encourage you here to create a situation in which you're committing a federal felony, but you can do that on your platform if you want to.
Okay, thanks. So now we're going from unpopular opinion to advocating for crime. Yeah, I can't do illegal things. It's not illegal to say I think you know, if you need to hit a woman or whatever, you should do that as part of your.
Well, let's just say,
like,
go ahead. You're married, right?
Yeah.
You're married, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you said certain things on your stream advocating for something, that could be used against you if things fall apart. I don't know what your situation is, but you know, you have to be careful as a man, because things will be used against you that you say publicly, even though everyone knows they're true. So that could be true of women too, but it's more true of men. You have to be really careful about what you say.
I don't mind you taking that position, but don't ascribe it to me, because I don't agree with that, and I don't believe that's true.
Well, you obviously do, but anyway.
Okay.
I mean, there are certain things by TOS you're not going to say.
No, you're just on fucking cope mode right now because you like to smack around women because it makes you feel like a big guy. Don't ascribe that belief to me, though, okay? I
Well,
don't
now
share that
you've
opinion.
made a bunch of assumptions
I
about
don't
me.
share that
You should
opinion. If
fucking
that's your
take it
opinion,
back, Steve.
that's fine.
And I'm going to
Your opinion.
exhibit some dysregulation and
We
say,
will mute
shut your fucking
everybody.
mouth and
No,
stop saying
we will
that.
mute everybody if we get into this. We've had a pretty good amicable discussion.
Just because you lost, it's not my fault.
We're not going to have any of this. I'm going to say that right now. So I don't want to indiscriminately start muting people. So we're going to try to keep our comments related to the discussion and not our speakers. That is our last warning for that. So, good meme, new member for $5.50. Can a wife ever hit her husband to snap him out of it? In quotation. Is it okay for him to retaliate if she does? Same question, reverse roles.
Yes, absolutely.
Any comment from the other side?
You shouldn't be hitting your partners. It's not a good way. It's just never a healthy way to like resolve. Yeah, I'm sorry, Eric. I give your opinion because I'm sure we disagree on this. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, women can abuse men unequivocally at any level as much as they would like, and that's based. And it's part of the revolution. But men must be soy cuck losers to take all forms of any sort of physical or emotional interaction from women. Of course.
That does sound like your philosophy.
Yeah, I reject the premise of both of these questions. No, there's no good